You are looking live. How about UCF?
That was awesome.
How about UCF? Picked to finish last. All right, down 8 at the half.
Each of the top 3 teams in the nation have lost to unranked teams in the last 2 days.
Miami lost to Louisville. That might be worse than all of them combined.
That's what I saw a tweet that had that in it. It's like, what's more remarkable, that or the fact that Miami lost to Louisville? 16.5-point favorites yesterday.
I'm just enjoying a round of golf on a Wednesday, thinking not much is going to happen.
Oh, boy, did stuff happen.
No, what happened with Saban behind? I have no idea. Tell me about it. That's a good trade happened today in 1977, David. The Cubs sent Rick Monday to the Dodgers for Bill Buckner. That's a good trade right there.
That was a good trade. Did you see Purdue averages? The Purdue women average 4,800 a game. Mackey was sold out last night for Caitlin Clark.
Of course it was.
10,000 extra people.
Moving the needle.
Wisconsin does 4,500. When they came to town, they did 14,252.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean, the only one you could put on there, Cavanagh's got the fourth one if you wanted to put Norvell on there.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Mark, when you went to play golf yesterday, anything happen?
No, nothing at all.
Nothing
Just
to see here.
Nice day.
How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. FloridaSportsNetwork.com. Man, our poll questions could have poll questions today. My goodness.
That right.
What an afternoon. I mean, Trent threw a poll question idea out there that won't even make the survey. Which major story from yesterday surprised you, shocked you more? Whew. Anyway, how you doing?
I'm doing well. A little surprised of the events of yesterday. And I think you and I have been doing this long enough, David, that being surprised is fun. We get kind of used to things, and our shocked meter has come up so high that it's hard to make it go off very often. But yesterday it went off twice.
Well, it went off for me once. All right. I would describe one as shocked, one as surprised. And Pete Carroll, to me, to be honest, was the shocker. That was the one that floored me. The Nick one, if we go back 5 6 months was actually being whispered about in July and August. In fact, Paul Feinbaum said it out loud. And we did take note, I forget exactly when it was in the summer, but Nick and his wife Terry purchased a new home in Jupiter in the summer of 2023 for a little over $17 million. And you and I said, listen, we don't have any sources or anything, but that's not a lake house. That's not a place to hang out for a few weeks during the summer.
Nope, that's a November through March type house.
Yeah, maybe even October through April.
Yeah,
or May even. Because the other two houses are lake houses in Georgia and West Virginia. So, no, that's a
winter residence, David. It's a fall and winter residence, is what it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. In fact, once football season starts, it could be the permanent residence. Because I'm guessing the lanai, by the way, if you're home 17 and change, I'm guessing the lanai is amazing.
Should be.
I mean, you take great pride in having the 2 TVs on the wall. I'm just guessing at 17 and change, I don't know, it might be a multiplex. That's all I'm saying. But that one was that's a retirement home. That's what that one is. That's where we're living. So do you purchase it 5 years in advance? 3 years in advance? How much in advance are you purchasing that sucker? Turns out it's about 6 months in advance. Nick Saban retires. No year-long tour, by the way. No Mike Krzyzewski. Notice that? You can be one of the, if not the greatest of all time and just retire.
David, that's where my brain went first. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I never expected a Nick Saban retirement tour.
I didn't either.
This is how Nick would go out. A statement, and I'm done.
It just needs to be pointed out, how certain people really are and how others really are. That's all. I think it caught a few people in Alabama off guard, especially since apparently yesterday and the day before he was interviewing potential new coaches. So I'm guessing it caught a few people in Tuscaloosa by surprise. I mean, how does that list of things to do go, Mark? 9 a.m. interview so-and-so, 10 a.m. interview so-and-so, 11 a.m. conference call with SEC coaches, 3 o'clock retire. I mean, is that how the list of things to do goes?
No, not in my world. The retirement comes first, David. The day that we call it quits, we're done. The show ends and we're not doing anything else. It's over, whether it's by our choice or by someone else's.
So you mean you're not going to go on a sales call after the show?
No.
And then come back and say, hey, just so you know, I've re-upped so-and-so and I'm retiring. Wait,
exactly.
What? I'm sorry, what? It's going to seem a little weird though, isn't it?
Oh, David, it's going to seem really weird. And probably even more so for the Trents of the world who know no one else coaching Alabama football. You and I are old enough to remember Bear Bryant. So, Yeah, it's weird. He's leaving. Another great coach retires, and we'll look for the next great coach. But for a lot of folks, this is Alabama football.
For those that don't know, in front of I think it's outside the north end zone at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, there are statues of all the coaches who have won Alabama national championships. So obviously Nick Saban has a statue. Word that Nick is retired and, he loves those, what were those cakes that he loved? He had a certain cake that he loved, I think with a little like filling. And he loved his Coca-Cola. And so Alabama fans started leaving those cakes. And Coke at the base of his statue. And then they started leaving flowers. And I thought the Coke and the snack was touching. When you start leaving flowers, I'm like, wait, he's not dead.
Yeah, that's shades of Sharon Moore crying after Penn State. That's like we're missing the forest for the trees on that.
Hold on now. The Coke and the snack, that's thank you, Coach. This one's for you. The flowers, even if you did stop off at the convenience store on the way, I mean, you didn't spend more than $7 still. Come on now. Yeah, right. Thank you. They're the Little Debbie oatmeal cream pies. That's his thing. That's his soft spot.
Flowers, huh?
When they started doing the flowers, I'm like, hey, Nick, come on now. And
well, to the Alabama fan, things may have died yesterday for a moment. David, I mean, that was more for the fan than it was for Coach Saban.
So that was for themselves?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'll tell you what. When Miller and Moulton retire, there might be a lot of flowers left on the studio.
Where?
I don't know.
Where? Like a nearby sports bar? Order a plate of wings and leave flowers next to them? I mean, what? Hey, can I order that 50 thing of wings? Hey, just make a little room. Just let them sit here for a little bit. Here you go.
Just leave me the blue cheese. That's all I want. No flowers. Just a tub of blue cheese.
I have to admit, selfishly, I did think of us at CBS and go, maybe we are losing this conference at exactly the right time.
I mean, he really loved Danielson. We never knew that.
I just, he struck up a rapport in the last couple of years with Jenny Dell. That's what I said to somebody. I go, he just can't. If he can't talk to Jenny after the game, there's just no sense doing this. So, yep, Nick Saban. Put it this way. If you had to argue the case before the sports fan jury, however small or big that jury is, for greatest coach to ever do it, whose case would you want to argue? Because I think I want to argue Nick's.
David, you might want to argue Nick's against almost all coaches. I mean, you could, outside of maybe Wooden, it's tough to think of, Wooden, Arbach. I mean, I'm not just talking football here. I think you can put Nick up against the greatest coaches ever.
So you're talking coaches.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I'm saying you could take the case up, David.
You can argue it. You really can. You can argue it. Others have more, but it's also the impact that he had. I mean, can't state it enough. When he left Michigan State for LSU in 1999, the entire industry thought he was bat blank nuts. Nuts. What are you doing? You're leaving the Big Ten for the SEC? And you're leaving for LSU? And Nick said, the one place has more talent than the other, and the other place, I'm always going to be the second most important school. And in that one, hell, I'm more important than the NFL team. Yeah, I'm going. And Michigan State was so angry they wouldn't let him take a single assistant. Everybody else stayed behind. They promoted the defensive coordinator. So Nick literally had to start from scratch. Made a bunch of bad hires. I mean, like Muschamp and Kirby Smart and Jimbo Fisher and, a bunch of young coaches who had no future. None. Couldn't recruit. Yeah. Won the SEC year 3, won the national title year 5. Right. And he came back and saved Alabama from oblivion.
Nothing to see here.
Nope. And literally, along with Urban Meyer and what Spurrier and others had done before him, but, with Urban and Nick at the same time, they took the SEC from a regional conference and made it national. And now it's the conference. With the Big Ten now raising their hand going, hey, come on now. We're part of the Big Two. And the SEC's going, yeah, well, yeah, you are. By the way, in the last 20 years, national titles are 14-2, just if you're keeping track.
So Nick Saban, 7 titles, 6 at Bama, 1 at LSU, has ridden off into the sunset.
You'll see him on ESPN game day in the fall. That's my prediction. And I think they'll do one more year of Lee Corso, and then Nick will be the one to wear the funny mascot hats. Right. Maybe not. Miller and Moulton.
Get set for the thrill of a lifetime with Mud Wheelers Gone Wild at Redneck Mud Park, January 19th through 21st. 3 full days of mud, trails, camping, and more. All for ATVs and side-by-sides only. Friday night is movie night. Ride up and relax. Compete for cash prizes and more. With events like our new ATV and side-by-side bounty obstacle challenge, side-by-side and barrel races, and scavenger hunt. Don't miss this family-friendly ATV and side-by-side only event at Redneck Mud Park, January 19th through 21st. Visit redneckmudpark.com for discount tickets and details.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You know, I think Mark's idea of he might be the greatest coach, period, in anything is super intriguing.
What do you want the poll question to be? That's all I care about.
I mean, I like who's next successor, the one you brought up.
Yeah.
The options and then other. Because those are the big three. I mean, of course, there's other prospects. But one of my good friends from high school, he went to Alabama. Huge fan, obviously. He wants Lanning.
Did you hear the chant last night out in front of Nick's statue?
No.
Anyone but Dabo.
Yeah, that's funny.
Wow.
I don't think they're not going to hire Dabo, are they? If they're going to take someone from Alabama past, I think it would be Kiffin.
you want to put Mike Norvell up there, or do we want to just put those three?
I'd put Norvell up. It adds some intrigue to it.
Right. I agree.
How many coaches have won national titles at 2 different places? I mean, Urban, of course, did it. Is there anyone else in this modern era besides Urban and Saban? Last 25 years?
I don't know if in history it was done. The only two are Urban and Nick.
Wow.
Nick did it 6 years apart with 2-year stint in the NFL in the middle.
Remember a couple years ago on, was it game day? I think it was game day. Yeah, he was sitting next to Pollock, and Pollock said Georgia is taking over the.
It was last year
last year?
After Georgia won the Natty. He looked right at Nick and said, "Hey man, Georgia's the team to beat now."
And Nick's face said it all. He was just so disinterested with that comment.
Nick's looking at him like, "You guys have never beaten me."
Right.
In the SEC title game.
And then Pollock got let go.
Right.
Not because of that, of course. But maybe. I don't know.
Jimmy Sexton said to ESPN, "Listen, my client is not going to work with David Pollock." Okay. Okay, so I got a question for you when we come back.
86.
Q39. Sonny, you're on a roll this morning. Bill O'Brien, Jimbo.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for waking up with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Is this our show? Gary Danielson at the top of the hour? Alex Golesh, the South Florida football coach? Jim Dunaway, who covers college sports for a living in the greater Birmingham area? And Roy Cummings to talk about the Bucs? Is that all on one show?
It's all on one show.
Golly. That seems pretty good. Hey, do we have a poll question?
We do.
Because we could have about 13 of them today. What's the one we settled on?
Who will be the next coach at Alabama?
Okay.
Dan Lanning, Dabo Swinney, Lane Kiffin, Mike Norvell.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Probably DeBoer of Washington, only other coach I think I'd add to the list. So I like it. So, you know, that's at that Mark Miller. I'll retweet it here soon at the David Moulton at floridasportsnetwork.com. Can I ask you a serious question?
Sure.
Would you want the job?
I would.
You would.
I'm one of those that, yes, I would embrace that challenge. I'm not the can't follow the guy. I understand what you're saying. There's a tremendous amount of pressure. Maybe more pressure than any other job that there would be taking in sports.
I wouldn't take it. And I'm not one usually to, look at a challenge and go, come on. But I wouldn't take it if I was these guys that we mentioned. I really wouldn't. I'm like, no, I'm good. Call me next time.
You want to be the guy after the guy.
Oh, absolutely. Because I'm old enough to remember Ray Perkins. Coach Bryant died a few weeks later. Ray Perkins left the New York Giants. You want to talk about throwing the NFL went, wait, what? And Ray Perkins was like, oh, this wasn't even a hard decision. The NFL was like, wait, excuse me? It's like, oh, yeah, Alabama job's a much better job than the Giants job. And because Ray Perkins, played at Alabama, played for Coach Bryant. He's like, absolutely, I'm taking the Alabama job. And now I got him. He didn't win enough because how could you? He did make one big PR mistake, though, Mark. He, Coach Bryant coached from that tower, looked over, but Coach Perkins took down the tower. That was a bad move. That's not like removing the artwork that was in left center field at Marlins Park, if you know what I mean.
I got you.
We can debate that, but yeah. So no, I don't want it. I'm good. Like Dan Lanning. No, I got all of Nike's money. I can buy. Trust me, nobody's buying players more than we are. I'm good.
All right. What about Lane?
Man,
that's the Lanning thing. I actually, David, I could support you on because Oregon has it going on right now. He's doing a great job recruiting. They're going into the Big Ten. They're going to be right there with Michigan and Ohio State. I get it. Ole Miss, who's doing everything right. They are doing every single thing right. They are recruiting at a high level. They are as good as anyone that there is in the portal. They have their NIL department running perfectly.
And Lane so desperately wants it, and he has put together the best team that he might ever put together at Ole Miss, with a schedule in which he'll be favored in at least 11 of the 12 games. I mean, this is the year coming up for Lane and Ole Miss. I mean, this is what we talked about with Louisville last year when they didn't play Florida State, Clemson, and North Carolina. I mean, Lane doesn't play Alabama next year. Lane's toughest game is at LSU, and he'll be favored in every other game. And he just loaded up 15 starters from other teams who were all 4-star recruits or higher, and he's brought them all in the transfer portal. He is loaded for bear. He texted Nick and said, come on, dude, you can't do one more year? Because that's the thing with Lane. It's like, oh, come on. Lane thinks he can play for the SEC title next year. And others are going to think it too. I mean, don't be surprised if they're preseason top 10. But Mark, he'd leave.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah, he would. He'd leave.
And he's going to. He's going to be the next coach at Alabama. That's been my thought from the get. When it happened, I said it's Lane's job.
Put it this way. If it's Lane's job, then they certainly didn't consult with Nick. I know they've repaired the relationship, but I don't think so. I don't think he'd endorse that one. Oh, boy.
How many of these SEC coaches do you think are salivating at the fact that they can maybe now go beat Alabama and sort of get, a couple pegs up in the pecking order?
Well,
and they want to stay put for that reason.
Trent, before I answer that question, I'm going to ask a question. How many other schools are there in the SEC?
Touche.
And once you figure out how many that is, that's my answer.
13. Well, no, not anymore.
15.
15.
Yeah. Oklahoma and Texas are like, hey, wait, hold on. We're going to the SEC and Nick's retiring?
Hell, Texas, right? You know what Texas is doing right now? We forced Nick Saban out.
That's what
Scared him
people
so
say.
much he's afraid of us.
Well, Harbaugh whooped Pete in 2009. Worst beating I think he ever took at USC, and he left for the Seahawks job like a month later. And so now Harbaugh beats Nick, and Nick retires. So, it takes Harbaugh a while, but eventually he's kryptonite. But I'm not kidding. I wouldn't take the job. I'd be like, no, I'm flattered. Wow. No, I'm good. I'm good. Call me next time. 5-7 years. Give me a holler. No, I'm not going anywhere. Like if I'm Mike Norvell, I'm like, what is Mike? 42? Something like that? I'm good. No, I know it's a mess here or what have you, but next time, call me.
You understand that coaches don't think that way, though.
And their agents certainly don't think that way. It was hysterical. Just behind the scenes. I mean, media, national media, they've got contacts, sources. Oftentimes they're agents and coaches. And so when Nick retired, a bunch of agents and coaches are like called up their media friends and said, hey, could you just put my name in the story? Yeah, Alabama's not going to call me. I'm not going to be the next coach of Alabama. Could you just put my name in the story, though? Okay, because if you do, that'll get me a raise. Yeah, sure, I can do that for you, buddy. Just make sure you call me. Oh, I'll call you when I got a story. Don't worry. I'll let you know who we're recruiting.
I owe you one for this.
Yep. Because that could be a $500,000 $1 million mention right there. Just throw my name in the story. I laughed when I saw James Franklin mention the story last night. I'm like, yeah, that's going to happen, but that's cute. Yeah, he's extorting Penn State for more money again. That's good.
Yep. Well, they have that. The agents obviously have that game figured out.
Yep.
Because schools are deathly afraid of losing their coach. And here we are with Nick retiring. Every coach is going to want that job, supposedly.
I mean, think about it.
From theirs.
Think about it, Mark. Oh, Steve Sarkisian's going to take the Alabama job, and he's going to bring Arch with him. Oh, yeah. And Steve's only making like 6 and change. Uh-huh. I'll bet you Steve's making 9 by the end of the month. Just saying.
It'll be interesting to see how many coaches get new contracts between now and the start of next season, all on the Nick Saban factor.
They get mentioned as a candidate and they get a raise.
I mean, Nick Saban could have added $10, $12 million to the coaching pool, at least just by retiring.
Think of all the interns now who lost jobs, though, at Alabama. That's 20-30 on the unemployment line.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Jason and Todd with the Diamond District are excited to invite you to their annual Winter Wedding Band Expo. Saturday, January 20th and Sunday the 21st. Jason and Todd with the Diamond District welcome many top wedding band designers to their 6,000 square foot Diamond Superstore, including M-Fit, My Caroline, Crown Ring, A Jaffe, and more. You'll choose from the largest selection of wedding bands in Southwest Florida and receive 20% off designer retail prices. This is the best time of year to buy your wedding band with the lowest prices and largest selection from America's top bridal designers. Whether your wedding date has been set or you're still deciding, Saturday, January 20th and Sunday the 21st is the perfect time for you to head to the Diamond District and choose your wedding bands. Jason and Todd want to meet you personally and share with you the largest selection of wedding bands and offer you 20% off retail prices during their Winter Wedding Band Expo.
At the Diamond District.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
David, I looked this up last week and I didn't want to do it on air, but I've got a little different schedule than you've got for Ole Miss. I don't know where they play. LSU, they play Oklahoma, and they play Georgia.
Huh.
From FB schedules, that's what I'm looking at for the 2024 season.
Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong. Don't know where I saw that. I mean, they do get them at home, but still.
Right.
They'll be favored against Oklahoma. They won't be favored against Georgia. Bad news for Florida. Gators get to face Ole Miss when Ole Miss coming off a bye. Who gets a bye in mid-November?
I doubt you watched that pod that we got sent on Twitter, but that was the Tiger thing. The Barstool guys got Tiger to give a little lesson. And I mean, these guys talking before Tiger comes out, they're checking their heart rate. The guy's like, I'm at 130 right now, standing still. So I'm about to throw up.
Is this when he did the long driving contest?
Yeah. So he helps the first two guys out, and the second guy says he can't hit a fairway wood and proceeds to just smoke two fairway woods. And Tiger's like, all right, you're done. But then Riggs, the Barstool guy, he gets him to hit a pretty good drive. Then he says, go after him, have a long drive contest. Tiger gets on his knees and reps one past him.
Maybe someone was spamming me.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks for waking up with us, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Our poll question, who's going to be the next football coach at Alabama? What do we got? Lane, Dabo, Dan Lanning, Mike Norvell?
That's who we have.
So go place your votes accordingly. I'm voting Lanning. Mark, who you got?
Lane.
Oh, the Lane train. By the way, I don't know what I read, but man, I'm off on Ole Miss's schedule. It's a little harder than I said it was.
Just a bit.
I mean, I know they played Georgia Southern. I missed later in the year they played this team called Georgia.
That's a problem.
Well, they're pretty good. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not too worried about Oklahoma coming to Oxford. They'll get that. But I didn't have them playing them either. So they'll be favored in 10 games. You know, they go to LSU. That'll be close. And they host Georgia. Late, by the way. They host Georgia in like November. I think they host Georgia the week after Florida and Georgia play. So, by the way, bad news for the Gators. Gators get Ole Miss next year. Yeah, they get them in Gainesville. But Ole Miss is a bye. Who the heck has a bye in November? Ole Miss does. Like Billy Napier's schedule needs to get any harder. Golly. So Gary Danielson joins us at the top of the hour. It's time now for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Listen, Mark, you may want to sit down when I read you some of the stories I got for you today. Nick Saban retired. 72 years of age, 17 years at Alabama. He won 6 national titles, 09, 11, 12, 15, 17, and 20. Added to his national title in 2003 at LSU. Nearly 300 wins, over 200 of them at Alabama. He won 11 SEC titles, 9-1 in that game at Alabama, 2-0 at LSU. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Nick Saban, arguably the greatest of all time, retired. The word is Alabama's going to have a replacement before the weekend is done. They're moving quickly.
They need to.
Well, with Nick retiring when he did, everyone who has a scholarship offer or a scholarship from Alabama now has 30 days to get up and leave. No questions asked. So even though the transfer portal, I think, closed yesterday, not if you're associated with Alabama, it didn't. So that whole roster's up for grabs.
That phone you hear ringing is Kirby Smart.
I'm sorry. Billy Napier, line 2. Steve Sarkisian, line 3. Brian Kelly, line 4. Oh, wait. Nick Freeze is in the lobby. Or Hugh Freeze, I should say. NFL, Mark, Pete Carroll pushed aside in Seattle. That one floored me.
Me
and,
too.
You know, I've got 34 coaches getting fired in the NFL every year, but that one shocked me.
Yeah, that could get you to 9, David.
I'm going to win my bet,
And
aren't I?
by a long shot.
Man, I can't remember the last time I won a bet with Pat Kerwin. For those that don't know, the over-under on coaches getting fired was 7.5. We're at 7. 14 years as head coach. Ironically, like Nick, he's 72. 10 playoff appearances in the 14 years in Seattle. 2 Super Bowl appearances, won the title in 2013. Averaged 10 wins a year for 14 years. Pete Carroll pushed aside in Seattle. He did not say he was retiring. He's moving into an advisory role. And he said, yeah, we haven't figured out what it is, but I appreciate them wanting to keep me around in some capacity. But Pete admittedly said, no, I still wanted to be the coach. I fought like hell to still be the coach. And so Pete's not done coaching if somebody's interested. I'm sorry, hold on one second. Yes. Pete, the LA Chargers on line 1. If you've ever spent any time in Los Angeles, Pete Carroll is a legend in Los Angeles. You win at USC, they really like you in LA. I mean, Pete Carroll's available, Mark. I'm being very serious. You're Alex Spanos. You can have Harbaugh or Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll will sell you more tickets than
I
Harbaugh
know.
will.
I know. They're both going to win.
And they both have a short shelf life. Pete because he's 72, Harbaugh because he's difficult as hell. So if you're going 3 to 5 years, Pete Carroll, Jim Harbaugh, think about it. I'll get back to you. The Bears announced they're retaining Matt Eberflus, but they fired the whole offensive staff.
Justin Fields. I would be looking to get boxes because they're bringing another offensive coordinator in, and that means they're going to bring a new quarterback in. Your days are numbered, sir.
The Giants and Wink Martindale mutually agreed to part ways. 2 days earlier, Dable said to Wink, no, I'm going to keep you, but he fired his 2 trusted lieutenants. Wink cursed him out, got up and left. Got on a plane, flew to Sarasota. The Giants were like, so did you resign? No, I didn't resign. So they mutually agreed to part ways. Did you hear the story? A Bills fan was fatally shot after the Dolphins game Sunday? It happened a few blocks from Hard Rock Stadium. 30-year-old Dylan Isaacs started arguing with somebody. Who knows about what? And somebody shot him and killed him. There's a GoFundMe page. Dylan Isaacs, 30-year-old victim of a fatal shooting after the Dolphins-Bills game, not on Hard Rock property a few blocks away. College hoops last night. You know, Miller and Moulton were not very smart. All right, we get a lot of things wrong, but we have been begging you for years. You go on the road in college basketball and conference play. It's not easy. Just get the W and get out of town. And for evidence, we present Wednesday night, January 10th of 2024. Third-ranked Kansas picked to finish first in the Big 12. Went to UCF, picked to finish last in the Big 12. Hell, Kansas even led by 8 at the half. Your final, UCF 65, Kansas 60. Fifth-ranked Tennessee lost at Mississippi State by 5. Clemson lost at Va Tech by 15. Marquette lost at home to Butler, by the way. Ninth-ranked Oklahoma lost at TCU. We had 5 ranked teams lose last night, 4 of them on the road in conference play. Carolina did beat NC State by 13. Memphis survived Texas San Antonio in overtime. UConn edged Xavier 80-75. Wisconsin, you know, the Badgers, ever since they came to Fort Myers, Mark, in late November, they got it going on. Wisconsin 71-60 on the road in Columbus against the Buckeyes. Gators were favored at Ole Miss and gave up 103 and lost by 18. What's more shocking? This could have been a poll question if Nick Saban hadn't retired. Most shocking result of the night, UCF beating Kansas or Louisville going to Miami and beating the Canes?
What a terrible loss for the Canes. Terrible loss, David.
That's the type of loss that keeps you out of a tournament.
You got that right.
Louisville scored the final 9 points of the game. Good for Kenny Payne in Louisville. They beat Miami 80-71. Elsewhere in state, couple of A-Sun results. FGCU went on the road, lost a close one at Queens, 78-75. Stetson went on the road, got whacked by Kennesaw State, and Stetson's been pretty good this year. How about this, Mark? Stetson beat UCF at UCF. UCF beats Kansas at UCF. That's college basketball. Women's hoops, Baylor was undefeated. They went on the road in conference play. Kansas beat them by 21. Caitlin Clark, her first career triple-double. She went to Purdue, 27 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. Iowa beat Purdue by 25. There was a graphic that we were talking about right before we went on the air. Purdue women's basketball averages around 4,200 a game. Do you know how many people they had for Iowa-Purdue last night at Mackey Arena?
I'm guessing whatever Mackey Arena holds.
Yeah, that'd be 14,876. Yeah. She did the same thing at Wisconsin. They average around 4,500, and she, sold out that place. She is a phenomenon.
This just in.
I mean, you could argue she's the biggest draw in all of basketball.
At this particular moment, I think you're right.
Unreal. By the way, also in women's hoops, UCF lost by 1 at Cincy. South Florida beat Tulsa at home by 16. NBA, good one last night in Miami, but telling you, Oklahoma City, keep an eye on them. They beat Miami 128-120. Really good one in Boston. Don't laugh when I say this could be a finals preview. I mean, they are the two best teams in their respective conferences. So.
It's cute.
Boston beat the T-Wolves in overtime, 127-120. Golden State's in real trouble. Real trouble. Draymond Green is not going to cure what ails Golden State because they lost to the Pelicans by 36 at home last night, 141-105. That sucker looks over. Chris Paul's out for 6 weeks with a broken hand. They're in trouble. And the big story of the day yesterday, we made a bet on the show. Trent talks the Detroit Pistons entirely too much, and we said, put your money where your mouth is. They're hosting the Spurs. All right, if they win, we'll give you some money, and you can keep on talking Detroit Pistons. If they lose, you cannot mention the Detroit Pistons for any reason whatsoever, even if the franchise folds until after the All-Star break. Trent took the bet. Your final in Detroit, San Antonio 130, the Pistons 108. Wemby, his first career triple-double. The Clippers signed Kawhi to a 3-year extension at $51 million a year. Yes, that's right. 3 for $153. Ohtani thinks it's a lot of money. That's all I'm saying. NHL, Flyers, Stars, and Avs 3-0 over Vegas, the winners last night. And finally, if you're into golf, download yesterday's Pat McAfee show. He had a 25-minute interview with Phil Mickelson. I don't know if you're aware, Phil hasn't been getting a lot of time on the Golf Channel lately.
Or any channel for that matter.
And by lately, I mean about 2 years. It was really good television. And McAfee said, hey, man, you'd be in line for a Ryder Cup captaincy. Phil goes, yeah, I don't think I'd be a good choice. I'm a little bit too divisive right now. Don't think the guys would unite around me. Because, the Ryder Cup's at Bedminster or
Bethpage.
Bethpage, I'm sorry. And Phil would have been the obvious choice at Bethpage. He's beloved in the Northeast. They would have gone just blank crazy. So the U.S. will probably have to settle for Tiger Woods. And at 8 minutes before the hour, that was
the Starting Five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So, Mark, I don't know if you heard me, but Nick Saban retired and Pete Carroll was forced out in Seattle.
Quite a day. And to us, We're more shocked by the Pete Carroll news than we are by the Nick Saban news because there were whispers of the Saban news throughout the year.
Wow. That's a day. I mean, I kept checking my phone all night going, well, the Belichick story's got to break tonight, right? Apparently, we're getting all this done on the 10th. I figured if the Belichick story broke last night, January 10th, 2024 would end up being a 30 for 30.
We still wait on what's going to happen in New England. Gary Danielson to talk about Nick Saban next, right here on Miller and Moulton.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
When choosing something of high value and personal significance, such as a diamond, you want to shop with the best, and the mall is not the place to be. Here are my friends, Jason and Todd with the Diamond District. Take a stroll in the mall, hop into a few jewelry stores, and you'll soon discover you're in the wrong place. Rings begin to look all alike. You're not finding GIA certified diamonds. You quickly realize you know more than a salesperson helping you, and all the same financing gets pushed on you.
Visit Jason and me, and you'll find America's top bridal designers dealing exclusively with the Diamond District. You'll find the largest selection of GIA certified diamonds, all priced 8 to 10% over cost. You'll find educated sales consultants who have many years' experience and are not paid commissions.
And you'll find Todd and me in the store nearly every day, wanting to shake your hand and welcome you to our Diamond District family.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, he went to Verot.
Okay, on the MINC roster, what is that?
Michigan National Championship roster.
Gotcha.
That kid from Verot that like 5 years ago they wanted
Yeah. Does he play?
No.
Okay.
Gary's on.
Good.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Thursday after a heck of a sports afternoon and evening yesterday, where Pete Carroll was pushed aside in Seattle, and then the word that Nick Saban retiring at the age of 72, 6 national titles at Alabama, the one previous to that at LSU. Gary Danielson was there for all 17 of Nick's years at Alabama. He broadcast LSU's national championship win in 2003. He joins us now. Gary, thanks for your time. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. It was quite a day, wasn't it? Did you call me about the Lions and the Browns, or what did you call me?
Yep,
We'll get all of that, Gary.
Yep. Want to talk Flacco and Stafford returning to Ford Field. But if you have a moment, could we ask you about Nick Saban? You and I talked briefly last night. You think you did about 90 of Nick's games at Alabama on CBS, but just your thoughts when you heard the news. You know, you attended practices. You had all those production meetings with him. Just your thoughts about Nick Saban.
So I would have loved to play for Nick because, you know, there were no favorites for Nick. You know, everything was moving towards what's the best way to continue to build the program long term. And then short term, what are you doing to get better every day? And then game week, there was a routine to be ready to play on Saturday or Sunday, whatever day, you know, whether he was coaching in the NFL or coaching in college football. You know, it doesn't matter if you were a 5-star or a walk-on or if you were an assistant coach. I've seen him, you know, just ream Kirby Smart when he was the defensive coordinator, and Kirby would pout for a bit, and Nick would say, hey, what are you, too sensitive? Quit being so sensitive. I'm just trying to coach everybody. And it was all about the team getting prepared to play on Saturday or Sunday. I would have loved that, to tell you the truth, because it is really hard to win. It's really hard to get, you know, 100 guys all moving in the same direction. And I think that was the genius of Nick. It was not just X's and O's. It was the entire program. I mean, 365 days a year. And I think the Kirby Smarts, the Brian Kelly, even everybody around college football had to match his intensity of working year round to improve the level of the players and then improve the level of the coaching staff, and then pulling everyone in the same direction. As Nick said, I think maybe on the first day where he was hired at Alabama, there's going to be one voice here, and it's going to be me. Now, whether he learned that all from Bill Belichick or whether Belichick and Saban together kind of crafted this, organizational drive that I think both have used to be very, very successful in their careers.
Gary, all the time they keep hiring younger coaches and coaches that are supposed to be able to relate better with the players. How do you think Nick was able to still relate to players? At 72 retiring, to still have the ability to recruit the way he did, to still be able to connect with players. You mentioned 3 times that answer, to get 100 guys pulling in the same direction. That's not easy to do. And to relate to 18-year-olds at 70, Nick accomplished something that few will ever be able to do again.
Yeah, I think with the Pete Carrolls, here's what I think, Mark. It is a really good question. And you're right. Actually, I think, let me step back a little bit, get a running start at this. I've probably done 500 televised football games. And I was just thinking, I probably did 100 Nick Saban games because I did them at Michigan State. So, 20% of all the games I did on television in my career, and I don't know if anybody's done more college football televised events. Kirk and Todd are probably catching up, but it's going to be a while. So I guess just the fact of his intensity and his demands. But now with that, I think the understanding is that the players want to move forward in parallel paths. The path of the team winning and the path of their career, so they're moving toward the next step. And Nick understood that he had to do both at the same time. He had to convince the players, his coaching staff, the people who worked for him, that as the team moved in the right direction, it was best for their careers. Nick never did anything or recruited anybody where he didn't sell the fact that whether you sit the bench at Alabama or Michigan State for 3 years or you play 1 year, I will make you better for your ultimate goal of reaching the NFL. But as we do this, we're going to reach the ultimate goal of making the team as good as possible in the long run. And I think most kids want to be, whether they're in school, or whether they're a parent, they want to have discipline and direction. And I think those players understood that they could get better by listening to the coach who had a great vision of where to go and trusting that their professional career, and you don't recruit guys at Michigan State or LSU or Alabama, that every single one of them don't think eventually that they're going to play in the NFL. So they said, we'll take this tough coaching because ultimately we know the team will be better, but most importantly, I will be better as I seek my career goals.
What was a Nick Saban practice like?
Intense, not for the weak. If you can't take tough coaching, don't play for Nick Saban. Now, there's a lot of guys that way. A lot of coaches that are that way. But, there was intensity to move to the next drill, intensity of discipline of every little movement that you made. But I also think he learned the lessons. He ran the same defense at Michigan State. Okay? I think he understood the same defense that Drew Brees threw for over 500 yards. I think he learned the lesson in the NFL and coaching that you've got to get talent. And that led to the move from Michigan State to LSU, the temptation to coach in the NFL, the irony of the NFL move that if Drew Brees would have gone there, Nick probably would have stuck it out and never would have coached at Alabama. But I think he understood. I think Kirby understands that. I think Lane is understanding it now as he upgrades the talent at Ole Miss. Oregon figured it out when they got Phil Knight involved in building that program. You can have all the X's and O's you want. You've got to have the players. Now, just landing those players in your program, that gets you to those, let's go, there's 12 games. That gets you 9, 10 wins. But being a champion is the real job is getting those 5-star guys to all pull together and be with the team. And that was the genius of Nick. There's the famous story. I think I've told it. I know David knows this story where he's coaching the Houston Oilers. He's coaching under Jerry Glanville. And he's got his corner. It's his first year as a coach in the NFL. He's up on the blackboard talking about everybody who knows Jerry Glanville and the Grits blitz. And that's what they did. They blitzed every play. They played bump and run to the outside. And Nick was going over the technique of how to get in the pocket and look back and bump and run. And he looked around and his guys in the room, the veterans, were rolling their eyes, and Nick got all upset. I pardon my phone here, but this has been happening on my phone for 2 days here. It's kind of one call after another, if you can hear me.
No, you're fine.
The guys were rolling their eyes, and Nick was really mad about it, like he can with his temper. And he goes, "What? What are you rolling your eyes about?" And they looked up and they go, "Coach, you do know that that's Jerry Rice." And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "We can't cover Jerry Rice." I think that's the lesson he learned, okay? The techniques are great, but you got to go out and get those guys that people can't cover, can't block, can't tackle. That was the genius and why he sought LSU, why he sought Alabama. He knew that everything had to fit together to be what he wanted to be.
How much did he change from when you first started dealing with him at Michigan State in production meetings to last year at Alabama?
Oh, wow. It's incredible. I think Terry Saban had a lot to do with that. His intensity at Michigan State sometimes was he didn't have any time for the press, the media. The meetings were a little bit uncomfortable. I worked very hard at being prepared to address Nick with questions that he understood were based in preparation, that they just weren't off the wall. I never strived to be his buddy and didn't even come close to being that. Okay. And I took great pride in walking in the meeting room. And I felt personally that if you were prepared, he might not like the question, but he answered it. He was very forthcoming. He wouldn't give away secrets, but he was forthcoming on his beliefs. And we had great meetings, but he was different at Michigan State. But I think Terry, was good in bringing Nick along as the media world exploded and cable television became more important. And then obviously social media. I think Nick learned that he had to have, patience for part of the job had to be, you had to take the time to be respectful to the media and understand it, smile, relax a little bit. The times in our meeting rooms with Vern, that's another thing. When I think about it, I did 100 games with Nick Saban and I did 100 games next to Vern Lundquist. I did more Nick Saban games on television than anybody ever. And it was a great time to sit next to somebody with great focus, great discipline. And he had a coffee cup in front of him and you could ask questions to him until he looked at his watch and reached for his coffee cup one more time. You knew the meeting was over. He had somewhere else to go,
But we got to go, Gary.
I enjoyed it. Thanks for calling. I appreciate it, reminiscing about it.
Well, thank you for your time. Gary Danielson, 18 years the SEC on CBS. CBS will transition to the Big Ten. Nick Saban retiring. That is not the only coaching news this morning. We'll come back with breaking news on the other side.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
When choosing something of high value and personal significance, such as a diamond, you want to shop with the best. And the mall is not the place to be. Here are my friends, Jason and Todd with the Diamond District. Take a stroll in the mall, pop into a few jewelry stores, and you'll soon discover you're in the wrong place. Rings begin to look all alike. You're not finding GIA certified diamonds. You quickly realize you know more than a salesperson helping you, and all the same financing gets pushed on you.
Visit Jason and me, and you'll find America's top bridal designers dealing exclusively with the Diamond District. You'll find the largest selection of GIA certified diamonds, all priced 8 to 10% over cost. You'll find educated sales consultants who have many years' experience and are not paid commissions.
And you'll find Todd and me in the store nearly every day, wanting to shake your hand and welcome you to our Diamond District family.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Worth.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. That was great. Gary was good.
Yeah. He wanted to do it. Okay. He wanted to come on. He's teeing off in about 8 minutes.
So he's not doing another one of these for 4 hours, huh?
And he didn't do one all day yesterday. His phone rang off the hook. He was at one of his grandkids' games, and I text him the news, and once he saw it, and then his phone started blowing up, he just like, nope, I'm good. So that's the first interview he did. And I go, your phone's going to blow up all day. He goes, well, I'm not going to answer it before 1. But yes, Robert Anderson, you broke it to us. Adam Schefter broke it to the world. By the way, Chris Lowe breaking the Nick Saban story. Chris Lowe of ESPN got that. Morning. Well, John, I know that Nick and Alabama asked all the players to give us 72 hours. Basically, give us the time. We'll hire the coach. You meet with the coach, and then you can decide whatever you want to decide. That's what they asked for. One of their 5-star commits immediately said, well, if Nick's gone, I ain't going there.
Right. No offense to Alex Golesh, this may be a 7 to 10 minute interview today.
Well, I'm going to ask. I mean, he was at Tennessee a couple of years, and we'll start by talking to him about Nick.
Well, obviously they played him.
Oh yeah. My mom said, call Gary back. He was great. I'm like, Mom, he's got a tea time. He fit us in.
Early tea time. It's still a little dark out.
Gary.
And a little cold.
So When do we find out Vrabel's going to New England? And that has to happen, right? Come on.
Listen, if you're,
I mean, I think this was
New England will want it. If you're Vrabel, though, I mean,
oh, he's got to want it. Come on.
It's a mess.
Well, yeah, but it's his. He won 3 Super Bowls there. He loves it there.
I get it, but I think he'd love it someplace with a quarterback.
Mike Vrabel has a huge ego, not necessarily in a bad way. He will want to go fix that and want all the credit for it, and he'll be great. I think this was all premeditated, like him kind of forcing his way out or forcing them to force him out in Tennessee. Because like you guys said yesterday, there was no reason to fire him from a football perspective. 0.
Well, I mean, they justified it in that they're heading in the wrong direction. They've had back-to-back losing seasons. I think Mike kind of looked at them and go, yeah, look at the roster you gave me.
Right. So then he gave them the ultimatum that he knew they wouldn't.
So I don't know yesterday if they taped the 5 o'clock hour here, but I'm listening to the station because it was on in my car when I left. They're doing general like trivia knowledge stuff. Kind of, I mean, you know which animal's has the best kill rate of any animal in the wild? I'm not. It says 5:36 in the afternoon. Nick Saban is retired. 7 minutes of that, I got in the car. I had to go do something. I came back. They still were talking about nothing, and they ended the show. I think they taped the 5 o'clock hour yesterday. If they didn't, and they still went ahead with, I mean, that's like Bill Belichick retired in our last segment or getting quit, and we're just going to still go ahead with the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's like you just drop that. And you,
Trent, we used to do 3 to 7, and we had stuff that we were going to rerun from 6 to 7.
5 seconds, just like.
And John Gruden got fired at 5:57, and we were walking out the door, and we had to come back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
"21 minutes past the hour. We got a jam-packed show today. Thanks to Gary Danielson for joining us, reflecting on Nick Saban as he's figured out between Michigan State, LSU, and Alabama. Gary probably broadcasts 100-plus games that Nick coached in. And he was there for Nick's entire 17-year run at Alabama, just telling some Nick Saban stories and what he was like. If you missed it, sometime next hour, we'll have it posted at floridasportsnetwork.com, floridasportsnetwork.com. Alex Golesh, the South Florida head coach who recruited against Nick when he was at Tennessee, we'll talk to him about life in the pursuit of happiness. And Roy Cummings will join us in the 8 o'clock hour as we preview the NFL playoffs, at least the Bucs and the Eagles. But Mark, we got some more, as they say, breaking news.
We really do. I don't even want to do a fake sounder. I mean, it almost deserves a real sounder. We don't have one, so we won't do it.
No. We don't have the 8-track machine can't handle a real sounder. So, okay, what do you got?
Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots have parted ways.
Is that how it was worded? They have parted ways?
Yes. Okay. That's what they're calling it.
It's mutual?
Well, we don't know that. We just know that they're parting ways.
That's 3. There's the third. These always happen in 3s.
Yep. So what's that, about a 16, 18-hour window? Pete Carroll, Nick Saban, Bill Belichick?
Yeah.
All of them in their 70s, by the way.
Ageism.
I feel pretty confident 2 of the 3 of them will be coaching in the NFL next year.
David, but more importantly than Belichick retiring or parting ways with New England and being let go, that's 8.
Well, it is in my book, okay? Pat is going to insist that if Antonio Pierce gets promoted to full-time head coach of Vegas, that he doesn't count. And you and I are like, listen, the deal's really simple. Who was the head coach week 1? who's then going to be the head coach week 1 the next year? How many of them are different? That's the number.
Exactly. And I've got your back on this one. You know, I can sometimes do that to you and be that guy to stick it to you. But I've got your back on this one. And we're not done yet. And we're not done yet.
No, we are not. Nick Sirianni still to be fired?
Perhaps.
Yeah, David, you might hit this regardless of what the criteria is. There might be 10.
You know, Mike Tomlin is yet to inform the Steelers that he would rather be coaching elsewhere. I'm tired of this fan base. They suck.
If that happens and he goes to the Jets, Salah's out.
No, Salah's staying at the Jets. That one, I'm telling you. I'm just telling you. He's not going anywhere.
But
the owner loves him.
I don't think he's going anywhere either. I just think the prospect of Aaron's power there. Aaron loves Tomlin. I mean, David laid it out. It was weeks ago at this point, but nothing will shock us at this point, right?
No, absolutely not. But
Belichick and the Patriots agree to mutually part ways, is how it is being worded.
Right. Now, of course, there's the whole thing about 3 years remaining on his contract. My guess is Bill hasn't mutually agreed to not be paid to part ways, but, you know, that's okay. It's in the details.
By the way, our poll question from 5 days ago, when we asked how many coaches will get fired, 6, 7, or 8, 8 got the fewest amount of votes at 21%.
Well, I mean, usually I always root and predict more trades and firings than what usually happens. I'm the chaos guy. Mark is I'm going to always take the top 4 seeds guy. Mark, I bet favorites. I take the top 4 seeds in the tournament. Mark always goes for less chaos. I always go for more chaos. It's why Mark is 90% of the time right on all of these discussions over the years.
And I want David to be right.
Right.
The fact of the matter is I want to be wrong with these things. I'm excited that David's going to win the over-under bet on coaches this year. I truly am.
You guys both like chaos.
Yeah, I love chaos.
David
But
just
it's a sports talk show. Of course we love chaos.
I think it's great. It's a good thing.
I'm just a little mad at Bill that he couldn't have done it a couple days earlier or next week. I mean, we've pretty much got the show today covered. Bill, I didn't need you.
The kitchen's on fire.
Where would you have rather done a talk show these last 18 years? Tuscaloosa or Knoxville? I mean, after a while in Tuscaloosa, I mean, when you're complaining about a 12-2 season, I mean, you know, no, I want, we suck. We're terrible. You know, we gotta fire more people. Let's go.
Did you hear what Charles Barkley said about all this? That was pretty much what he said. He's like, I hate these Alabama fans because they lose 2 games and everything's up in flames. They lost 2 games, and he's going on this whole soliloquy.
Wow,
that's not bad.
You know, that wasn't. It started off great. Okay,
right.
A little shaky in the middle, but then he got it back at the end.
Front loaded.
Nice. Wow.
That's why Alabama fans suck. That's what he said.
That is the one Chuck did say, you know, I try to make people happy. He goes, well, I'm not trying to make Alabama fans happy.
But Chuck did say, and I never knew this, that Nick brought him in to talk to his players after all of the George Floyd stuff. And he, you know, he reached out to Chuck, said, I want you to talk to my players.
No, Chuck actually likes Nick. Hates Alabama. Likes Nick.
Loves Nick.
Yep. So Bill Belichick and the Patriots have divorced. Nick Saban is retired. Pete Carroll thrown to the curb. I mean, what are we going to have Republicans and Democrats start passing bills together? What the hell is going on?
We have to do a second poll question, right? We have to.
I'm game for 3 or 4 a show. That's the way I roll. But we struggle to come up with one, and we have one. I feel comfortable with that.
What's the question, though, Trent?
I don't know. It's got to be Bill Belichick related. We'll talk at this break. We got to figure this out because what a day.
It might be what Paul suggested in the Twitch chat room. Who would you rather follow, Nick or Bill?
Bill.
Oh, Bill.
But interesting premise for sure.
I like the question. You know, So the one guy won 6 national titles. The other guy won 6 Super Bowls. Who do you think's better?
It's another fine question. All of that ahead, but right now we got a little business to take care of. It's our Molly Maid play of the day. Trent, what do you have for us?
And I hate to even do this to the points you guys brought up because we got better things to talk about, but I get to do my college hoops for like a minute here. We had a lot of great upsets in the country last night, but we'll go to Orlando where the UCF Knights are hosting the number 3 Kansas Jayhawks, who got ahead by as many as 16 points in the first half, but the Knights weathered the storm, stayed in the fight, and here is just one of the plays that kickstarted a monster run to take control.
Payne, back out, 3, up, good! Timeout, Kansas!
You gotta love the crowd. Junior Darius Johnson rips the triple to put UCF ahead by 4. They never looked back. Knights moved to 10-4, and it's shock chalk, Jayhawk. 8 of the AP top 25 teams have all lost to unranked teams this week, including number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 5. That is remarkable stuff, and it's looking like it's anyone's race come March this season. And there is your play of the day, presented by Molly Maid.
That's Mark Daniels. We've had him on the show before. The longtime voice, in fact, now the longest-serving voice in the state. He's approaching 30 years as the voice of UCF. Mark Daniels with the call there.
What a great win for UCF last night. It was fun to watch. Watch the last 5 minutes of it. That's a court storming. That's
absolutely.
People were throwing shoes. I mean, it was unbelievable.
But the players were as into the court storming as the fans. That's when you know it's genuine. When you see the players that are just basically running off or whatever because a top 10 team beat another top 10 team, that's one thing. To see the genuine enthusiasm for the players watching their fans storm the court, that was fun stuff. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening as we reflect on Belichick and Saban and Carroll. All gone.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Myers.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Sorry about the computer going off. I have no idea what that was.
Yeah,
it's just a.
Don't worry about it. It's not your doing. Hell, we're just happy it works. If it's making noise, it's still working. At least I think it is. Belichick Kraft going to hold a presser at noon today, joint presser. The NFL may want to rethink this decision. According to John McMullen, they've selected 4 teams to play in Europe next year: Jacksonville, Minnesota, Chicago, and Carolina.
Yeah.
What? What? That's ridiculous.
Timing.
After they had the Dolphins and Chiefs.
Well, no, Jacksonville's playing at Wembley. They've got the Vikings and Bears. I don't know if they're playing each other.
No, those are just the home teams.
Right. They're both hosting games at Tottenham Hotspur. And Carolina's playing them. And that's the other thing. They're sending Carolina to Germany. Golly. Hope they're sending somebody good to play them.
So I'm texting with my kid back and forth, and he's asking about Harbaugh yesterday. And we're just going back and forth about things. So who's going to come out of the Big Ten? And I had to type Oregon. And
weird.
He's what is Ohio State going to come out with a K-State guy? And I'm like, what about Oregon? And I'm like, what did I just type?
Trent, pay attention because they call us.
Yeah, I've been watching it. There's nothing yet. We got 1 minute and 8 seconds left, so hopefully soon.
All hands on deck at ESPN today. Everybody in now.
Pat's segments tomorrow are going to be great.
Well, he's talked to Pete. There's Coach. I think. All set?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It was already a jam-packed show, and that's before the Patriots and Belichick agreed to go their separate ways. Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick will be holding a joint press conference together at noon today. I'm guessing if you're interested in it, it will be televised at many a place. Alex Golesh, the head coach at South Florida, kind enough to join us once again. You can follow the coach on Twitter /X at Coach Golesh, Golesh. Coach, it's David and Mark once again. We haven't spoken since, I believe, before your bowl game. Congratulations on the resounding win and the winning season that you had.
Well, I appreciate it. We certainly feel like we've laid a foundation for something elite here in Tampa, and we also recognize that we've got a long way to go before we can bring a championship back here. And so we're right back to work. Our guys came back Sunday night, team meeting, and we're right into the thick of winter workouts.
Were you able to take a moment, a day, to reflect on the year, to where this team had come from in such a short time? You know, we interviewed you before the season started. You had lofty goals. I think you reached a lot of them, but did you have a moment to at least reflect on the season that was?
Yeah, I think the first thing is I don't know that I had lofty goals. I've actually never talked about lofty goals or even goals at all. All I've ever talked about is creating a process-driven program and setting a standard for something elite, and then chasing that standard every single day. And maybe I'm different in that regard. I just feel like when I got here a year ago, we were so at the bottom of the college football landscape that I said that day, we're going to get as good as we can, as fast as we can. And so, and I'm not saying I didn't say that maybe at some point, but I don't believe I've ever said that I've got lofty goals. My only standard every single day is for us to be the best version of ourselves in everything we're doing. And as it ended, I probably did maybe take a day or at least a drive back from Boca to Tampa to kind of just enjoy my family and love up on them and get away for about that 4.5 hour drive. And then we got away from here for a little bit, and I went right back to evaluating the whole program, literally top to bottom, starting with myself, our staff, how we do things, how our process has affected our results. And, that's sometimes really, really good. Sometimes it's really hard because you've got to continue to make changes to elevate our standards here. But I feel like as we've gotten back here, we're in a place where after, I don't know if it's reflection as much as evaluation, we've gotten right back to work and have hit the ground running. The way our calendar is, you don't get a whole lot of time to just reflect. The transfer portal was open in the meantime. I don't know if you guys followed that.
Oh, yeah. Follow it every day, Coach. Listen, you said the word process twice. And obviously, with Nick Saban retiring late yesterday, he was the guy that, most famously talked about the process. When I remember when you got hired, one of the things that I noted was you spent 3 years as a position coach at Toledo, where Nick was also the head coach way back in the day. Who was it that you kind of adopted and said, I like this process, I'm going to take this, I'm going to run with this? When did that become a part of your coaching methodology? Because that's something that Nick preached for 25 years.
Yeah, I think early in my career, just like the young men in today's society and young coaches, I think as I got into it, I was very much gung-ho on, man, I'm going to get to being a coordinator as fast as I can, then I'm going to be a head coach as fast as I can. And, early on in my career, I was around Jim Tressel, who is the complete opposite of that. Was an assistant for a long time, then was at Youngstown State for a long time, and turned down a lot of opportunities because he felt like he was building something special in Youngstown. And 5 national championships later, he became the head coach at Ohio State. And so I saw that from within the walls of that program. And then as I went out in my own journey professionally, and like I said, I think early on I thought, man, like how fast can I get there? And Matt Campbell, who I worked with at Toledo and then worked for at Iowa State for 4 years, was very much process driven. And honestly, early on in my career, as we talked about what I wanted to do and my goals and aspirations, he literally sat me down and he said, "Hey, how about you shut the F up, do your job, pour into these kids, and the rest will take care of itself. Like, don't chase a job, don't chase a goal, pour into your players, do your job, keep your mouth shut." And honestly, that hit me. I was, 24 years old at the time, and it hit me. And literally, I put my head down and just went to work and never worried about a job, never chased a job, never pursued anything, to be honest with you. And that was a point where I felt like I went from being a good coach to a really good coach, because all I worried about was my players, our staff, and our process of how we get better every single day. And again, I felt like I never rushed getting to be a coordinator. So in the meantime, I was a recruiting coordinator and learned the inner workings of recruiting and setting up departments and finding strategies to get that better. Then became a special teams coordinator. And so got to stand in front of the team and led both sides of the ball in a critical part of the game. And then eventually got an opportunity to be an offensive coordinator with Josh down the road here, and just put my head down, shut my mouth, and went to work. And then we went to Tennessee, and again, never chased a job, never pursued anything. Just put my head down, shut my mouth, went to work. And by that, I mean poured into our players, poured into our process of how we build an offense and how we teach and how we cultivate relationships with our players. And 2 years later, I had an opportunity, obviously, to come here, and same thing, put my head down, shut my mouth, and went to work. And it's the same exact thing that I've literally preached to our staff, our players. And I believe that at some point during the season, our players started to really understand that, because if you're process driven rather than result oriented, the result doesn't dictate your behavior. Your process dictates your behavior. And therefore, as we actually started to believe that, the ups and downs of the season started to go away, and we started to become more consistent in what we did. And, I think the fascinating part about all of that is our backs were up against the wall going into the end of the year. And our guys knew, man, like, we got to go win to keep playing. And I thought they bought into the process part of it, as they continued to do. But at 18 to 22 years old, that's really, really hard. We as adults struggle to not worry about end results and just worry about our day-to-day and being elite at what we do. And I think it cultivated into a really good ending to the season. And as much as people are patting everybody on the back, that's what I told our guys Sunday night. Like, now you got to be guarded. People are going to tell you that, hey, look at us. We've turned it around. Look, the next step is this. Like, man, our next step is to sit here, pay attention in this meeting, and take notes and get everything you can out of it. And then tomorrow, wake up, get a great night's rest tonight, wake up, come in here, attack every single part of your day, from the lift to how you treat your teammates, to how you ate breakfast, to how you talk to your professors, to your academic people, your tutors, your teammates, all of it. Like, elite process in every single thing that we do. And the result will be what the result is, because elite process doesn't guarantee a win. It gives you a chance. And so that's where we are. We're growing, we're learning, and we're continuing to push forward.
When you first got the job, I know you talked to us about the players who stayed. And I would think that those players and the process that you talked about, and those players taking ownership in this program, has to be a strong accomplishment, because they were a team that the guys that stayed weren't used to winning. So that process and them taking ownership in the program, just to talk about the guys who stayed in the steps that they made this past year.
Yeah, really grateful for the group of guys that chose to stay, and really grateful for the group of guys that chose to come. And I think, again, when I came here, all I heard was 4 wins in 3 years. Man, this program at one point was at the pinnacle of college football, and 4 games in 3 years. 4 games in 3 years. And I kind of smile, because I've said within our walls, and I don't care about what's happened here. I don't care I don't care about. I respect the heck out of the tradition. I respect the heck out of the people that came before me, but I don't care what's happened here the last 4 years, because the last 4 years don't dictate where we're going. We got to learn from history and we got to respect it, but we certainly don't have to follow it. And that, I think, was the beginning of where we are still obviously heading. You know, I think as you look at it, the guys that stayed, you could say, man, they haven't won, but they were looking for somebody to guide them. We're all looking for somebody to give us the key to something special or something great. And so slowly but surely, you know, they bought in, and that's the hardest part, I think, when you're leading an organization is one, getting everybody on the same page and getting everybody aligned, but two, getting everybody to, one, listen to the message, but then execute it as well. And I'm proud of the guys, and we're not perfect, trust me, in any imaginable way, but I think there's an elite effort to try to get there. And again, if you were result-oriented, you would dwell on the 4 wins in 3 years. If you're process-driven, then it doesn't matter. All you're trying to do is win right now at everything you're doing. And so I feel like we've attacked recruiting in that way, and we've seen a lot of success in recruiting. I feel like we've attacked the retention of our players in the same way, and I feel like we've had an elite level of success there because, again, if you're not result-driven, but you're process-oriented, all you worry about is the moment that you're in right now and where your feet are, and I feel like our players have really bought into that.
Coach, we were very thankful that you made time for us when you got the job, and very thankful that you made time for us throughout the season. Congratulations on year 1 and 2 recruiting cycles now. Hopefully, you'll continue to be a part of our show going forward. We're big fans from afar. All the best. We'll talk down the road.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Go Bulls, and thanks for having me on.
Alex Golesh, beginning year 2 at South Florida, 7-6 year 1, a bowl win. After, as he mentioned, 4 wins in 3 years is what he inherited. Big news of the day is not Bill Belichick, or excuse me, it's not Nick Saban retiring. It's not Pete Carroll being pushed aside. It's Bill Belichick and the Patriots divorcing. Bill is no more. What would Bill do? He'll leave. Kraft and Belichick, a joint presser at noon.
A joint presser.
Yep.
And he's going to coach somewhere else next year.
I think so. Do you?
Yes.
Okay. My money's on Washington.
It has been for a long time.
It's May. He's coaching the Commanders.
If the Eagles lose to the Bucs, are you still all in on Belichick to Washington?
No. No. Trust me, Nick Sirianni's future just got more tenuous.
Do you think the Eagles could actually win a playoff game and still fire him if they know they got Belichick in the chamber?
Yeah.
I do too. I think that's crazy, but that's the world we live in.
I don't know that Howie Roseman and Belichick would work together, though. I think Howie would have to be pushed aside, and I don't think they do that. But I do know the owners got a hunkering for Bill. I actually think Pete Carroll might be perfect in Philadelphia. Might be perfect. Pete can work with anyone. And he's great with the room. Pete Carroll in Philly could be perfect.
Harbaugh to Vegas. Pete Carroll to the LA Chargers.
Where he's a legend in LA because of USC.
And I think you've been right all along, Belichick to Washington.
But Belichick makes 8. A quarter of the league will have different head coaches next year than they had this year. Minimum. What was it Jerry Glanville said 35 years ago? What does the NFL stand for? Not for long.
What a 24 hours this has been.
Golly.
We will talk with Jim Dunaway about Nick Saban. That is next. Roy Cummings in the 8 o'clock hour to talk Bucs as well. Thanks for listening, Miller and Moulton.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
When choosing something of high value and personal significance, such as a diamond, you want to shop with the best. And the mall is not the place to be. Here are my friends, Jason and Todd, with the Diamond District. Take a stroll in the mall, pop into a few joy stores, and you'll soon discover you're in the wrong place. Rings begin to look all alike. You're not finding GIA certified diamonds. You quickly realize you know more than a salesperson helping you, and all the same financing gets pushed on you.
Visit Jason and me, and you'll find America's top bridal designers dealing exclusively with the Diamond District. You'll find the largest selection of GIA certified diamonds, all priced 8 to 10% over cost. You'll find educated sales consultants who have many years' experience and are not paid commissions.
And you'll find Todd and me in the store nearly every day, wanting to shake your hand and welcome you to our Diamond District family.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Get set for the thrill of a lifetime with Mud Wheelers Gone Wild at Redneck Mud Park, January 19th through 21st. 3 full days of mud, trails, camping, and more. All for ATVs and side-by-sides only. Friday night is movie night. Ride up and relax. Compete for cash, prizes, and more. With events like our new ATV and side-by-side bounty obstacle challenge, side-by-side and barrel races, and scavenger hunt. Don't miss this family-friendly ATV and side-by-side only event at Redneck Mud Park, January 19th through 21st. Visit redneckmudpark.com for discount tickets and details.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Worth.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, Nick, I believe McCarthy's gone if the Packers win. I think that Jerry would desperately try to get Dan Quinn to stay. Because Dan Quinn could have the Seattle job if he wants. If Dan Quinn wants a job, he could have it in a lot of places in the NFL. And I think Jerry would desperately try to keep him from going on any other interviews and just take the Cowboys job. But yes, I do think they would move on from McCarthy, which would be dangerous because McCarthy now runs the offense, and Dak had a great year with McCarthy, his best year. Well, Paul, the one thing Mark Davis would offer to a Jim Harbaugh is he'd offer him total control. Handpick whoever you want to be your coaches, the GM that you want to work with. I mean, final say on personnel, just what Gruden had. The one thing the Raiders and Chargers, though, both don't have is cash. Their owners are cash poor. So in the whole free agency thing, and to rework the cap and turn salary into bonuses and what have you, they're not in the best of shape. Well, I think Sirianni's getting fired no matter what happens in Philadelphia. I think they would have to go to the conference championship game for Sirianni to keep his job. I just think it's broken there.
Jim's on.
Nothing yet.
Oh, nothing yet. Oh, you left a message?
No, I left a message.
Okay.
Well, DC, I don't think there are 15 places in the NFL where the players have stopped playing for the coach. I think it's broken in Philly between Sirianni and the room. Well, I mean, Dak had been in the league, 6 years?
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the third and final hour of Miller and Moulton along the network. The Diamond District bonus hour for the 239 is an hour away. Roy Cummings in about 35 minutes as we'll talk Tampa Bay Bucs getting ready, fourth straight year in the playoffs, hosting the Eagles on Monday night. But there are not many shows, if any, that cover college football better than The Next Round, based in the college football capital of the South. And one of their hosts is Jim Dunaway. You can follow Jim on Twix, Twitter/X at Jim Dunaway, Dunaway. Jim, it's David and Mark. Thanks for doing this, particularly at this hour. How are you?
Oh, great. Already in the office. We did 5 bonus hours of programming from 4 o'clock, 4:10 on last night. After the announcement, we got the official word. So, I'm old enough to, as a kid, remember when Bear Bryant was retiring. And I got to live as a kid through those days of Alabama football. So here we are with Nick Saban, an even better run, better dynasty. And it was a surreal moment last night to live through all the emotions, but a lot of gratitude from a lot of fans up here.
I was in North Carolina when Dean Smith retired working in this business, and I remember just that feeling. I imagine that the mix of emotion of Alabama fan is tremendous right now, Jim.
It is. I would go personal for me first. I got a chance for many years to be the host of the Nick Saban show, and I do his radio show every now and then. So I've had one of the best seats in the house, and it seems like yesterday that run started when he got here in 2007. And in 2008, he and I were both younger guys then. And now here we are in 2024. And I remember after the 2012 national championship, he had won 3 in 4 years, had just demolished Notre Dame down in Miami. And I think that was the closest he ever came to leaving, was for the Texas job right at that moment in time. And then a little bit after the kick six in 2013. But early on, there was always this fear that Nick Saban was going to leave and then go back to the NFL and give that a shot in a better situation. And then he settled in after that devastating tornado in Tuscaloosa, and he and Terry Saban literally helped rebuild the city after so many people lost their lives and buildings were destroyed. And his Knicks Kids Foundation started to build homes for people, and it just was he became a part of the community. So you stopped thinking about that until the last 3 or 4 years when you hit 69 and 70, you passed Bear Bryant's age, and now 72, and you just wondered when the end would come. And then as yesterday, I mean, I'm talking to people on the coaching staff at 3:30 Central Time yesterday, and I'm like, dude, I'm starting to hear from the agent side that this thing is going to go down. And people on the coaching staff's like, Jim, we have been interviewing coaches for the staff and making recruiting phone calls, not recruiting calls, but other calls today, just managing the business. He's still in the office. He's working. And apparently moments before that 4:00 team meeting, he puts down his pen, he walks to the meeting room, and then he makes the announcement. And one of the coaches texts me from inside the meeting, holy crap, he just retired. And that was about 4 o'clock Central Time. So yeah, the emotions were very instantly sad. But then you just start thinking about all the gatherings you've had with your families at stadiums. I remember the Bobby Bowden, Nick Saban game there in Jacksonville. The games, even though it rained in Tampa this year, the Great Orange Bowl game, all the rivalry games in the SEC. And he's taken the Alabama fans a couple of times to Pasadena and every major bowl game in between. And it'll be a lifetime of memories. And that's what everyone's dealing with up here today.
Jim, you documented on Twix, as we call it, Twitter/X. You said, I never followed Coach walking off the field before, but I did after the Rose Bowl, gut feeling. And then you added, I'm glad I did. It's funny. I had the same feeling Dan Marino's last home game in 99 with the Dolphins. I followed him. And I just thought, you know what, this might be his last home game. What gave you that gut feeling that this was it?
Well, first I thought, I'm 60, about to be 60. I don't know how many more times. It was the first time Alabama had actually played in the Rose Bowl game in Pasadena. The Rose Bowl game in my lifetime was during the pandemic. They'd moved it to Arlington. And the other time I was in Pasadena, it was for the BCS championship with Alabama and then Auburn. So I was like, I may never be here again. So I want to document everything. But then when the just sudden death ending of Alabama not punching it in overtime, there was a lot of emotions. And you have that feeling of, what do? You're an on-air talent. You're not really a photographer. What do I need to be doing right now? And I said, I'm gonna walk up the tunnel with somebody and just get that emotional shot. And then here comes Coach Saban, and I'm like, this feels different. And I followed in behind him in the police escort, and there's 85 players behind me at this point. So I'm very much in the walk to the locker room. And it just felt like, truthfully, I was hearing the NFL Films voice in my head as I'm watching it through my phone. This felt like a historic moment. And I told my coworkers, we had a team of 4 or 5 out there. They were like, where are you? And I said, I just walked to the locker room all the way with Nick Saban. And I'm telling you guys, I just have this feeling that was the last time he was going to walk off the field as a head football coach. And we laugh later, like, he's still working his butt off right now. That's not the case. And we were signing day and all the stuff. It all went well. And then it turns out it was his last time off the field. So it was just a gut feeling. And I don't know how you guys are. Sometimes in my crazy head, I hear a voice narrating life, and I could hear the great NFL Films voice walking down that tunnel at the Rose Bowl, a very long walk to the locker room. And it almost was like saying his accomplishments with music playing in the background as I walked off the field with him.
What do you think it was about Nick that allowed him to still at his age relate to 18 to 20-year-olds the way that he did and get them to compete the way that they did?
He told me one time that young people, players, want to be coached hard. And because he knows the players they recruited at Alabama, their goal was to get to the NFL. And I don't want to make it sound like it was a professional machine and there's no love for Alabama, because I was a little worried about that. I'm an Alabama native, and I was like, early on, this guy's talking process. Where's the love for Alabama football? And, you get to know him a little bit and you listen to what he's talking about, and he loved the program. And he's the greatest of all time, in my opinion, in team sports. And I know I say that on the day Bill Belichick is retiring too, but I look at those two exactly as almost, old school Xerox carbon copies of each other. But he said they want to be coached hard because the guys we're recruiting, their goal is to make it to the NFL. So they did a lot, and you hope the next coach will do the same. They did a lot of psychological, classes and studies about, your own feelings about yourself and, sports psychology stuff. And the players they had wanted to be coached hard because the ultimate goal for them were to become better people, but also professional football players. It was a business opportunity for them. And he was the best at convincing, whether you're a media person, a player on the roster, somebody who works on his staff, somebody who works in the football building, someone who brings him his chicken salad at lunch, which I think was the same meal he had every day of his life in Tuscaloosa. He convinced that person that their job is important, and it's important on February the 10th. It's important on April the 7th. It's important in June. It's important in August. And it's not just important on a championship Saturday. And that's the way he approached every day. A lot of coaches didn't like working for him long term because they got burned out because there were not a lot of days off. But you learn a lot about organizational skills and the ability to motivate people and make those February days just as important as those Saturdays in the fall. It wasn't about a scoreboard for him. And I know that sounds cliche, but it really wasn't.
Whoever's next, and they're obviously going to be a very good coach who's already accomplished something. But what is it that they're not going to have that Nick had?
The first thing that had to happen at Alabama, and it had to happen, because you guys have seen it in sports, there are programs and organizations, professional and college, that have had tremendous success. And then that legendary leader leaves the program or the organization. And then there's a power vacuum that everyone tries to fill. And when Bear Bryant left, and then he passed away, there's a vacuum in Tuscaloosa starting in 1983 that anyone who donated to the program or was part of a program or a former coach or a former player, there were so many people pulling in 100 different directions until Gene Stallings got to town, and he was only able to do it for a few years in the 90s. And then it's back to everybody pulling in different directions and no one vision direction. The next coach will not have Mal Moore, a former Bryant assistant who was the AD who helped hired Nick Saban, to stand in the doorway and said, guys, we've done it wrong all these years since 1992. Come to me. Nobody talks to Nick. Nick's going to do it his way. And he was the wall that stood in the doorway that allowed Nick Saban to come in and establish it in 2007, where no other coach at Alabama since Bryant was able to do that. The next guy, and whether it's, from Dan Lanning to Mike Norvell to whomever it is, has to come in, and Greg Byrne and whoever's there, all the great boosters who give their more money now than ever because of NIL, has to allow the new coach to have that same autonomy to run the program and make the decisions and keep their hands out of the cookie jar. Because if you don't, you go back in and start making the same mistakes you see programs make around the country. You've got a guy who is the direct, clear vision voice, and everybody's behind him, and he paint color on the walls to who we're recruiting. He's the guy making the decision. And when that clear vision isn't there anymore, it becomes a problem.
He's Jim Dunaway. He's part of you could argue the best college football show in the country. It's The Next Round. You can follow it at Next Round Live. You can follow Jim at Jim Dunaway, Dunaway. Jim, thanks for making time for us. Well, the next week is done, and probably the week after that for shows as well. Be safe, and hopefully we can talk again.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a great day.
Jim Dunaway joining us here on Miller and Moulton.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
Get set for the thrill of a lifetime with Mud Wheelers Gone Wild at Redneck Mud Park, January 19th through 21st. 3 full days of mud, trails, camping, and more. All for ATVs and side-by-sides only. Friday night is movie night. Ride up and relax. Compete for cash, prizes, and more. With events like our new ATV and side-by-side bounty obstacle challenge, side-by-side and barrel races, and scavenger hunt. Don't miss this family-friendly ATV and side-by-side only event at Redneck Mud Park, January 19th through 21st. Visit redneckmudpark.com for discount tickets and details.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Worth.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Is it anybody else, or does Moulton have a little bit of a Belichick look today?
Yes, he does. It's the layers.
Yeah, it's too bad that the top shirt's not a hoodie.
With some strings.
I just realized when you were walking there, if that top blue shirt was a hoodie, you'd have the total Belichick going on with the shirt underneath there today.
Yeah, it's, it comes like this, but yes.
It looks as if you look very Belichick-esque today. That's all. It's not, it's not even a knock. It's not, I'm not giving you any crap.
No, so the look today, and I had the hoodie on yesterday.
I know.
That's who you should be for Halloween.
So I had a rough day. I've been trying to eat right. Had a rough day yesterday, David. I went to Jason and Todd, and Jason gave me a candy bar. Handed me one of those Swiss, what do they call them? Starts with a T. Very good candy, very good chocolate. And they looked, I had a big smile on my face. Jason goes, I don't know if I've ever seen you smile like that before. We know what we're doing now. I'm like, I'm usually pretty serious when I come in with you guys. I'm trying to do business. And then Jason gave me a bottle of booze. So we've obviously been doing something for them. They signed, yeah, there you go. They signed up for another year. They're on all the way through 2024.
Well, obviously we made them some money. They gave you candy and booze.
They do surveys of everybody try to survey everybody that comes in. Only 2 radio stations delivered for them. Us and Fox News. Everything else was basically virtually nothing. And I'm like,
good.
that's
then give us all that money.
Well,
I know.
That's the problem. And yes, the chocolate tent. It was wonderful. I annihilated it. And then I ate the last half of my dog while watching NC and NC State last night. I annihilated the rest of my daughter's ice cream.
From what I'm able to tell, 7 to 11p is the problem.
It is. It is. If I could figure out a way to not devour everything in the house.
Wasn't that also like the worst time to eat too?
It's the absolute. Not to mention, I've already had 3 glasses of wine and 5 beers. So my body's already going to try to get rid of the alcohol first, so the fat just piles on. And that's why I want to get those shots, the A1C that everybody loses, the Charles Barkley shots. But I don't know if that would help me control cravings. I think I need the Aaron Rodgers
ayahuasca.
I need the ayahuasca is what I need.
Mark's going on a darkness retreat.
Yeah, but you got to go on darkness for 2 days.
No, you don't. You just need the ayahuasca. You don't need the darkness.
Mark's going to come back with his hair growing out. He's going to have
ayahuasca or whatever it was that he did.
Yeah, that's what I need. I need a shaman. I need the ayahuasca, and I need to be taught how to control my cravings.
Charmin, what do you need toilet paper for?
Should see what I eat.
You guys are unbelievable.
Can't wait for the stories Trent's going to tell in 5 years, wherever he is. He's going, man, I worked for 2 guys. They were effing nuts.
Hey, I'll still be here if you guys are still doing this.
Yeah, okay. Yep, you'll be up to $9-10 a show.
Then we have not done our job right.
Yeah,
Trent.
really. We're already very fond of you, but no, at some point, unless we can get you a show.
Hey, I had dinner with my grandparents last night.
Oh, there you go.
And I was telling them how much I'm enjoying the job, how every morning I wake up and I'm not dreading coming to work. I love it.
Feel like he's gone from the 0-16 Lions to the Dan Campbell Lions. He's about ready to start biting kneecaps.
It's a good one. Okay, here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
You know, we do 3 hours along the network and 4 hours for our loyal audience in the 239 every day. And usually that's more than enough. We can do 6-8 hours today. Man. I mean, yesterday, Nick Saban retired and Pete Carroll got pushed to the curb. And so the New England Patriots said, whatever. Belichick and us are divorcing. Yeah, we'll have a presser at noon.
Such an amicable divorce. Not, David, as someone who's been divorced, I never really envisioned going up with my ex-wife and having a press conference about it.
Well, that's because you didn't get 3-year severance with the divorce. See, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I know how the first one ended, and it didn't end well, ladies and gentlemen. Most endings aren't. But I'm guessing if you had about 30 million walking out the door, you could have done a joint presser with her. I'm just guessing. I'm going to go out on a limb.
She didn't want to do one with me, and she came out pretty well on the thing.
I didn't say she wanted to do the joint presser. I'm just saying if you were getting 30 million being pushed out the door, you would have done it.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Because trust me, Bill's getting the severance.
I'm under contract is short for pay me my money.
Right. Show me the money. Right. Before I go to Washington or wherever. I only work along I-95. I did those few years in Cleveland. No, not crazy about that. Back to I-95. That's only where I work. So my options are the Giants, the Jets, the Eagles, the Commanders. That's about it. Not going all the way to Carolinas. You crazy?
Besides, Charlotte's not on I-95 anyhow. You'd have to come all the way to Miami.
Exactly, and that job's not open. All right, now Jacksonville. Anyway, so
who's the hottest coach on the market right now? Who? Seriously? Is it Belichick, Carroll, Harbaugh?
It's
Saban? No, I'm good.
what's your and I'm being very serious here. What's your definition of hottest?
Who's going to get the most interviews?
Oh, the most interviews? It'll probably be the offensive coordinator for the Lions. But the hottest, isn't the hottest the best or no?
Yeah. Is it Vrabel?
No, the best coach is Bill Belichick.
He's 70.
No. I'm very serious. This is the whole IROC argument. You're too young to remember IROC. All the cars were the same. They brought drivers from all the different racing series. They put them in the same cars. Okay? Al Unser Jr., Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt. They won all the IROC races. Those three guys. Didn't matter who else was in the field. One of those three guys won they were the best drivers. The best coach is Bill Belichick. Today, the best coach is Bill Belichick. Now, does that make him the hottest? Not necessarily. But, Mark, come on. The teams are even. This is my Rick Pitino argument. College basketball, the teams are even. I'll take Pitino. Best coach today. The rosters are even. Who would you take?
Belichick. Although I got to admit, Pete Carroll's not that far behind in my book.
Okay.
I mean, for game day and for what he can do, and not only just teams are even, Pete's excitement in the way he presents himself might be more adaptable to players than what Bill's is. I don't think Pete's that far behind.
All three guys in their early 70s combined, they've won almost 900 games. Almost 900 combined wins between the three of them. Saban, Carroll, and Belichick. I got to admit, the one that left me speechless was Pete.
I didn't see that. Come on, we've been talking about NFL coaches and where guys could go, and we thought Allen might be gone with the Saints. We still think that Bowles could be gone in Tampa. We thought that there was going to be upheaval in that division. We never thought Pete Carroll was going.
No, didn't even think it.
And a great tease for tomorrow's show. You're not going to want to miss Pat Kerwin tomorrow.
That's true. Really tight with Pete. To review, Pete Carroll, Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, in that order, will no longer be coaching where they were coaching at this time yesterday. And Nick apparently is not going to coach anymore. And nobody thinks Bill Belichick's going to announce his retirement today, standing next to Robert Kraft. That's just a matter of where he's going next.
Apparently Atlanta's hot and heavy for Belichick. That's all I'm seeing, is that Atlanta wants him.
Let me tell you, here's the only reason why I want Bill Belichick to go to Atlanta, because maybe we'll finally be done with Rich McKay if Bill Belichick goes to Atlanta, because Bill Belichick will put Rich McKay in a fetal position in the corner. And Rich McKay has destroyed a lot of good organizations.
And has not been good for the league.
No. But that's my Rich McKay bias.
Let me ask you guys, did Pete's new role get announced? Is there a title yet, or are they?
He was asked. It was great. So, do you still want to coach? Yeah, I wanted to coach here. I fought like hell for it. Oh, okay. What's your new role? I don't know. We haven't really talked about it. Well, are you going to be assisting your buddy John Schneider's GM? No, I'm not going to get involved in that. So what are you going to do? I don't know. We'll figure something out. But they said they'd be willing to keep me around, and I appreciate that.
So do you think they will figure something out, or do you think it will?
No, he's going to be coaching somewhere else by the end of the month.
Well, that's where I thought too, but I just didn't know if in the interim they're going to try to win the PR battle and announce some advisory role for Pete Carroll. And then he will, do his goodbye Seattle thing and coach elsewhere, because I'm with you.
He got emotional yesterday when he was talking about his wife. He didn't get emotional talking about the franchise or the team or the players and what have you. He got emotional when he was talking about his wife yesterday and all that she's done and the angel that she's been in his life. So I'm telling you, if you're the LA Chargers, I'm serious about this. I call Harbaugh and go, don't take too long. Don't take too long. Because you know who we have on line 2. Pete Carroll will sell us 20,000 season tickets in a week.
And that's a really big deal to the LA Chargers, who do not have a fan base at all.
Nope. Smallest season ticket base in the league. And the owner
Los
doesn't have
Angeles.
cash.
Well, that's the part of this where the Harbaugh thing, I wonder if Spanos can get him. Mark Davis could actually outbid Spanos for Harbaugh.
But I'm just saying that Spanos now can say to Harbaugh, I'll give you till the weekend. I've already talked to Pete. He still wants to coach. You're aware he was a pretty big deal here. You were at Stanford when he was at USC. I know you beat him a couple times, but I'm just saying. He's going to sell me more tickets than you, Jimbo, so I'll give you till Sunday.
Who would you hire if you were the Chargers?
I'd hire Pete. I really would.
Here's what I think everyone really wants to know the answer to. Would the Chargers hiring Pete Carroll prompt Mark Miller to get back together with the Chargers?
Oh, my goodness. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'd probably buy gear.
I was going to say that people who have famously remarried. I mean, that's, we go back to Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor. Oh, my goodness. Absolutely. Although I don't think Mark officially divorced. I think he announced the separation. He said we're going to divorce. Mark sent out a release saying we're going to divorce. I don't believe the divorce is final.
They reconciled?
No, it's a trial separation.
Mark has the papers. He's holding on to them. He's waiting to see how the rest of the month goes. No Harbaugh, no Carroll. He sends in the paperwork. Miller and Moulton. Roy Cummings. He's next.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Florida.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
When choosing something of high value and personal significance, such as a diamond, you want to shop with the best. And the mall is not the place to be. Here are my friends, Jason and Todd, with the Diamond District.
Take a stroll in the mall, pop into a few jewelry stores, and you'll soon discover you're in the wrong place. Rings begin to look all alike. You're not finding GIA certified diamonds. You quickly realize you know more than a salesperson helping you, and all the same financing gets pushed on you.
Visit Jason and me, and you'll find America's top bridal designers dealing exclusively with the Diamond District. You'll find the largest selection of GIA certified diamonds, all priced 8 to 10% over cost. You'll find educated sales consultants who have many years' experience and are not paid commissions.
And you'll find Todd and me in the store nearly every day, wanting to shake your hand and welcome you to our Diamond District family.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, Trent.
Yeah.
Do you know what Pete Carroll's record is against the Eagles as head coach of the Seahawks, including the playoffs?
12-0.
8-0.
Okay. overshot. I knew he was undefeated because I remember that, he got that 8th win this year.
Mm-hmm.
For this season, I should say.
Yeah. You don't think maybe Jeffrey Luria thinks pretty highly of Pete Carroll?
Yeah. Sirianni's lost the locker room, no matter how you slice it. So if it's Belichick or Carroll that's available.
I'm telling you, Pete Carroll would be perfect in Philadelphia. A little short 3-year run, be perfect.
Yeah, he could retool that secondary for him.
Listen, I hope people know there's certain situations where I would take Pete over Harbaugh. I would take Harbaugh over Pete in more scenarios, but LA and Philly, I'd take Pete. Maybe everywhere else, I'd take Harbaugh. I mean, Harbaugh's great. He's won big everywhere he's been.
Well, when you think about the window for these teams too, I mean, that's where I think you're spot on with Philly because they've got this group. They just paid Jalen Hurts. They've got, offensive talent. Defense needs work. Bring in Pete Carroll.
Morning, Roy.
Hey, guys. How we doing?
Good. Nothing going on. Pretty
Nothing
boring.
going on. Sitting here killing time.
I hear you. Counting down the days to the start of the baseball season, gentlemen.
What the hell are you talking? Do you know what's happened in the last 18 hours? Besides, your Cubs aren't doing squat. Besides some 30-year-old Japanese lefty, for God's sake.
Yeah, a 4th or 5th rotation guy. Boy,
right.
Boy, I don't know.
He's kind of number 4 starter. Congrats.
Yeah,
Hell of an offseason you got going on there, Roy.
Yeah. It's not over yet now.
I'm with you, Roy, because I just found out. So I just moved to this area, and I remembered that I can go see Tigers spring training games when I'm down here.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
In Lakeland.
I will be all over that.
I used to work for the Tigers. I worked for that minor league team.
Did you?
I did. I was it's a longer story. I was a bat boy, clubhouse attendant, on-field assistant, maybe the best way to put it. My brother and I were teenagers. We were 14 years old at the time, 15. We did it for 2.5 years. And we were, at one point, we were actually given the opportunity to be on the field with players who were rehabbing from Detroit. But we worked mainly for the Lakeland Tigers, the A Club, when Jim Leland was their manager. And let me tell you,
wow.
An incredible experience. Incredible experience.
That sounds awesome.
Did he curse in front of you at 14 the way he curses
Oh,
in
God,
front of
yes.
everybody else?
Oh, God, yes.
Good. It's good to know.
Saw one of the best managerial meltdowns ever. In fact, we were just, I was in the clubhouse at the time. Of course, we were in there all the time. So, yeah, saw him put his fist through a wall and
in single A ball.
Huh?
In single A ball.
Yeah. And I saw him he tore up a bus once on a trip back from St. Petersburg. Oh my God. He called for a fastball and somebody threw a curve instead. And that wound up being the pitch the guy hit out of the park for a game-winning homer. And oh my God, up and down the aisle in the bus on the way back.
Oh, right that's awesome.
Right down the cock. Motherfucking fastball. Fucking curveball. Right down the cock. Call for a goddamn fastball. No, what do you throw? A fucking curveball. Oh my God.
And you're giggling.
Right.
Oh God. Yeah, well,
you're trying not to giggle.
Trying not to.
Right.
Trying not to. I was once as I became a writer, there was a lot of talk within my family about writing a book about the 3 years I had
as a ball boy there. Yeah.
Ridiculous. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Our final segment along the network, the Florida Sports Network. The Diamond District bonus hour awaits for the 239. Roy Cummings, kind enough to join us once again. Listen, we will get to the Bucs and the Eagles. And fourth straight year, Tampa in the playoffs. That's only happened once before. Third straight year, they won the division. That's never happened before. But come on, man, the last 18 hours. I mean, where do you want to start? I mean, Pete Carroll pushed to the side in Seattle. Bill Belichick and the Patriots divorcing. You throw in Nick Saban retiring. I mean, damn, Roy. I mean, are you sure we're going to talk about the Bucs and the Eagles? That seems very small in comparison.
It really does. I mean, this stuff has kind of wiped out all the attention and focus on the playoff games. It's like, oh yeah, there's some games this weekend because some of the best coaches in football have lost their jobs. Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. A lot of it doesn't make any sense. I mean, the only one that I really, really get, outside of Atlanta, and is I get Belichick. I mean, it's time to move on there. But Tennessee, what are you doing? Seattle? I mean, unless Pete Carroll wants to leave, it doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense. So I don't know what I guess maybe they don't want to pay the salaries to these guys that they've earned. Maybe that's part of it. Although I think that's a small reason. That doesn't make any sense to me either. It just doesn't make any sense.
Atlanta, Washington, somewhere else. Where do you think Belichick ends up?
Boy, I
Tampa?
guess he's got his pick. Maybe Washington.
Tampa?
No.
Come on now, the Glazers. You go back history, 30 years. They tried to hire Parcells, not the Glazers, but Culverhouse there. The Glazers with the big Gruden trade. Come on now. Philadelphia 27, Tampa Bay 10. You sure about Todd Bowles?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe Jason Light would go for that. He's been in that system, so he knows Bill Belichick extremely well. But Bill Belichick's going to want to run it all, and I think that could be a problem in a lot of places. I suppose he's got his pick, but I don't really know where he wants to go. I don't know that I would, bring him in, to be honest. After what I've seen without Tom Brady, not too impressed. I think I'd try my chances with somebody else.
So you wouldn't hire Belichick?
No, I would not.
Even if he agreed to just be coach, which he indicated on Monday, he would be willing to do going forward. Like, listen, if you think, whatever, and I need to not be involved, okay, fine, I'll just coach.
Of the coaches who have lost their jobs recently, and I'm not counting other candidates, which there are plenty of them, Mike Vrabel would be my first pick, Pete Carroll would be my second, and Belichick would be the third. Actually, I'd take Ron Rivera over Belichick if Ron is healthy and feels up to doing it.
No, I think we'd argue with you on that one, but all right. Okay. Roy Cummings, he covers the Bucs. He's done it for us for only about 15 years or so. You can follow Roy on Twitter at rcummingsfhcn, rcummingsfhcn.
All right, let's get to the Bucs. The Bucs and the Eagles, wild card weekend, Monday night. It looked as if this was a foregone conclusion a month ago, and now the Eagles are reeling. How confident are the Bucs heading into this weekend?
I think they're very confident just because they did the job. They achieved what they wanted to achieve. It wasn't pretty, but you know what? You throw out that cliche, nobody asks you how, just how many, and they got enough. So they win the game, didn't look good doing it, didn't look good the week before. You almost get the feeling that they've fallen into another rut, into another slump, and that this could get ugly on Monday night, and I think it could. But I think they're confident. I think they feel very good about themselves. They've achieved a lot. As you said at the top of the segment here, fourth year in a row that these guys are in the playoffs, third straight division title. And they did it without Tom Brady. So an incredible achievement. And they did it despite some injuries. The defense being very young, giving up a lot of big plays here and there. So, look, there is no, to me, there's not a great team in the NFL right now. Maybe Baltimore, maybe San Francisco. But outside of that, there's nobody that's great. You just have to be pretty good. And the Bucs have a chance, at times they've looked pretty good. And so if they can somehow use this week to gather themselves and clean up some of the mistakes and just be a little bit more effective with their execution, I think they'll be fine. I think a real key is getting Baker Mayfield healthy enough to be at his best. He was not at his best the last game and a half, and I think that's part of why they struggled the way they did.
Well, and that's our big concern, Roy. We like to point out there's a difference between being banged up and injured. There's hurt and there's injured. We believe Baker is injured by the way he played against Carolina, and we see a path to victory for Tampa Bay in this game. For as good as Slay and Bradbury were last year for the Eagles, they have really struggled. Bradbury grades out as one of the worst corners in the league. Well, he's got to cover Chris Godwin. Well, it doesn't look like he can. I mean, if Baker Mayfield shows up, the Baker Mayfield against Jacksonville, the Baker Mayfield against Atlanta, I mean, if that Baker Mayfield shows up, the Bucs are going to win this game.
Yeah, and they need him to show up because I don't know that they can run the ball very well against the Eagles, okay? Maybe they can. We'll see. But I think that offensive line is a little tired and beat up too for the Bucs. So that could be an issue. But you're right. I think they can pass the ball on the Eagles and make some yards there and make some plays. And, you know, in terms of what it is that's bothering Baker Mayfield, obviously those ribs are sore. That's a big problem. But I tend to think, I know they kept referring to it as an ankle, and maybe it is, you know, with Baker Mayfield. But I'll tell you what, just the way he's walking around tells me plantar fasciitis. And that could be good and it could be bad because that can kind of go away. But if, you know, and if you rest it a little bit. But that's also one of those things that if you rip that tendon, you know, one more time on a run or something, it's going to bother you the whole time. And it's just, you know, just the way he's moving around tells me plantar fasciitis. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but either way, if he can't plant on that right foot, that's part of the, you know, that makes it difficult. That really makes it difficult.
Defensively, what do they need to do against the Eagles? Because the defense has been playing much better, Roy. They you know, I mean, obviously they shut out Carolina. I don't know how much that says, but even in the loss, they only gave up 23 to the Saints. I mean, their defense the last 4 or 5 weeks has been playing much better. What do they have to do to keep that up against Philadelphia?
The oldest cliche in the book for defenses: stop the run. Stop the run. Force the Eagles to throw the ball on long third downs, and then get a couple of takeaways. It's really that simple. This is something they could not do the first matchup. Is they really struggled against Philadelphia. They just couldn't seem to, you know, figure out how to stop them, stop that running game, and that's what's got to be done. They've got to play more sound. They've got to get off the field. They've got to get off the field, and they just can't let teams, you know, kind of just plow through them for these, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 play drives. Even if they only end up in field goals, it just wears out the defense, and by the end of the day, you know, you're quite vulnerable. So I think they got to get off the field quickly, and that means stopping the run.
Well, the chess match will be fascinating here because we all know how Todd Bowles wants to play defense. Last year and the early part of this year, if you blitz like that against the Eagles, you're just, you know, signing your execution. Last half of the season, though, Roy, the blitzes really bothered that offense, really bothered it. Hurts his numbers against the blitz. Hurts being forced out of the pocket, not what he was last year. To me, that's also the game within the game because you know Todd Bowles is going to blitz over half the time.
Yeah, he is. And, you know, it's interesting. I think Todd Bowles has tried to – I think he's tinkered with the defense a little bit here over the last couple of weeks, trying to not blitz as much, trying to see – I think he's trying to figure out as we get on in this season, you know, what does Kalijah Cansey have in him? What does Tryon Shoyinka have in him? Can Shaq Barrett get there? Can we get there with 4? And I think he's been testing that a lot more here of late. And so we could see at the beginning, you know, skip the blitz. Although if it's me, I'm doing it the other way. I'm blitzing early and then laying off just to show it. And put that seed in their minds, and then maybe lay off a little bit if you think you can get away with pressuring with 4. So we'll see. But you know, the good thing is he's got that in his pocket. He's got that, and he can bring anybody. And I would bring all kinds of different guys. I might be bringing Winfield. I'd be bringing Levante David. You know, bring them all. Bring Devin White. You know, and just pick and choose. Bring the slot corner. the old Rondé Barber play. I think if you do that, you're going to confuse those guys. And as long as everybody else can hold up and cover, which they've been a little bit better at of late, I think they'll be okay. I think they'll make some plays. That's what they've got to do.
Well, that'll be interesting too, because that's putting your corners on an island with two pretty good receivers.
Yeah.
And taking a chance. But I like where you're at, Roy, because I don't know if Jalen Hurts is 100%. And I think you're on to something, that pressuring him is the key in taking him off of his game.
Yeah, and again, that's why, I would do it early because, if it works early, great. Maybe you steal a possession somehow. But again, just planting that seed and letting them know this is what we're going to be. This is how it's going to be all day. Because you can always let off the gas, but if you let them know, hey, this is going to be a long day for you, it gets into their heads a little bit. So there's a little bit of a mind game to be played here too, because the bottom line is this is a toss-up game, guys. It's I think it's the most intriguing matchup of the first round of the playoffs here, at least in the NFC. Just because the Eagles are a team that should be headed to the Super Bowl, or at least the NFC Championship game, right? I mean, we thought that's what they were at the beginning of the year. The Bucs are a team that very few, if any, outside of me, thought could win this division and get to where they are. And here they are, and it's a toss-up game. And the Bucs are at home. The Eagles are going to feel like they're at home because there'll be 20,000, 30,000, Eagles fans there. But the Bucs are at home, and that gives them an edge.
All right. Gut feeling, do you think it's Lavonte David's last game at Ray J?
I don't, because I think Lavonte David, like Derek Brooks, wants to be a Buccaneer for life. Derek Brooks and Lavonte David are quite tight. And I think Lavonte just kind of looks up to Brooks and says, hey, that's how I want my career to be. And here's the other thing. If you're the Bucs, you look at him and say, why would you get rid of him? Can you find somebody better? Okay, maybe. But what's he lost? Nothing. Can you say that Lavonte David has lost a step?
Oh, no. I just didn't know if he was also going to retire. I mean,
No. I don't think he wants to retire. No. And he's not a guy that I think the Bucs will look at, and say, okay, we can't afford you. No, I think he's part of the core.
Gotcha. All right, gut feeling quickly. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways.
I'm a big...
You're a glass half full guy.
Thumbs down. Thumbs down.
Okay.
Look, as I said, the Eagles are a team that we thought was headed to the NFC Championship game when this all started, if not the Super Bowl. They're that good. Something's happened along the way, but I think that team knows how to figure it out in a hurry, in a week, against a team that they pretty much dominated the first time around. In fact, they did dominate them. The Bucs everything has to go right for the Bucs, and they can't make a mistake. I just think that the defense, to me, it gives up too many big plays. It struggles to get off the field. Baker's got to be 100%. They've got to find Mike Evans. I just think that the task is a little bit too tall for the Bucs. I think it's about 28-17 Philadelphia.
He's Roy Cummings. Follow him on Twix, Twitter/X at rcummingsfhcn, rcummingsfhcn. Roy, there'll be a lot less to talk about next week, even if the Bucs win, I promise.
Okay, if you say so.
Roy Cummings, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. That's
third
right.
down key in this. They're both bad on third. Both teams are bad. I know you've been doing your research, getting ready for the game, but both teams are bad on third down. The Eagles, one of the worst in the league. Tampa's in the bottom third of the league on third down. To me, that's everything, David. What can one of these two teams stop the other on third down?
Could be the two wide receivers on each team against the top two corners on each team. I have to admit, I like how the Bucs corners match up against the Eagles receivers versus the other way around. Slay and Bradbury are really struggling, but Baker's got to be healthy enough to deliver. Bucs Eagles, that'll be Monday night. We'll talk more about it on Monday. Bill Belichick and the Patriots are divorcing. Joint presser with Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick at noon. That's after Nick Saban retired and Pete Carroll was shoved to the curb in Seattle. We have eight head coach vacancies in the NFL.
And we're not done yet.
No,
and
we are
Moulton
not.
wins his bet.
I think so, but, Pat Kerwin is appealing, and he'll be on the show tomorrow.
Problem is he has to appeal to me on this one, and I'm not on his side here. He's going to have to do some serious lobbying, and then not just a couple of tickets to a hockey game, if you know what I mean.
As long
Pat's
as
got to come up with more than that.
As long as we don't get into the blade of grass territory with the offensive offsides, I think we'll be all right with Pat tomorrow.
First time in 15 years I have the arbiter on my side in a dispute with Pat Kerwin. Miller and Moulton. Have a great rest of your day. In the 239, the Diamond District bonus hours next.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Worth.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other, with a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I forget who it was in the Twitch chat room about 15 minutes ago. They asked if Belichick and Saban ever coached against one another. Remember, Nick was coach of the Dolphins for 2 years. So they coached against one another 4 times. They went 2-2, by the way, against the other, and each won at the other's place once. So I think, by the way, it's going to be Gerard Mayo for even though that goes against the coaches. You know, he had Parcells, he had Pete Carroll. People forget in between Parcells and Belichick was Pete Carroll for Kraft. Was there 3 years, went to the playoffs twice. And then, but I actually think he's going to go Gerard Mayo.
Can you think of a day as good as this to be in sports media? Like what? I mean, I'm sure there has been, but when was the last day that's been this chaotic?
June 17th of 94 was pretty chaotic.
O.J. Simpson.
Game 5 of the finals.
Yes.
Arnie at Oakmont. Yeah.
Pat Ewing, baby.
That's right. You had the World Cup in the States that day.
I'm excited for you guys to give your picks tomorrow because I think I know which two upsets David's going to go with.
Which presser? I got to admit, I think we've had a pretty good week.
We've had a great week. I was just watching because I got the 4-letter network out. I wonder if Greeny will do his radio show today. He hasn't done it this week.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the Diamond District bonus hour. Thanks so much for being with us, Miller and Moulton. Poll question today, which, I mean, man, seems outdated. There's so much stuff that's happened. My goodness.
I was really proud of this question, and I'm totally with you, David. I had it this morning. You guys had one. I'm like, no, I want this. And you guys were like, yeah, good question.
Right.
And it was outdated by 7:30.
Yeah, 7:15. Well, anyway, 3 hours ago, this was the poll question. We're very excited about it.
Who will be the next head coach at Alabama? Right now, 41% of you say Lane Kiffin, 34% of you say Dan Lanning, 16% Dabo, and the rest for Mike Norvell.
Mark picked Lane. I picked Dan Lanning. So those are our votes. Trent, by the way, gut feeling. Next coach, Alabama?
Lanning. I think Lane wants it. Lane Kiffin really wants it. Hence his whole, he's been stroking Alabama for a while, but they want to go young. They want to go big.
I want Lane to get the job. It's better for college football if Lane gets the job.
It really is. It really is.
Jim Harbaugh needs to stay at Michigan. Lane needs to get the Alabama job.
Well, for that matter, if Jim stayed at Michigan, Nick needs to return to Alabama. I was asked a question last night. How big of a loss is this for college football? And I said 25%. For those like the Tim Brandos of the world who have been advocating for a long time that college football needs a commissioner. Well, there was only one real candidate. Because we couldn't do the conference commissioners. Like, you couldn't trust Greg Sankey to not be biased for the SEC. So it was like, listen, if we could pick someone involved in the sport, make him commissioner of the sport, who would it be? And most everybody said Nick. He understands all the issues at play here. He was head coach at Toledo, for goodness sakes. I mean, he knows what it's like. I mean, everybody said, Nick's the guy. Who else, Mark? What, Mac Brown? Everybody loves Mac. Great guy. But, I mean, seriously, like when Coach K was coaching, you had Roy Williams next to him until his very last year. You had, other legendary coaches. And even, Boeheim, walked away right around the same time as Coach K and Roy Williams. There's a vacuum in college basketball right now. Izzo and Bill Self are pretty much seen as the guys. Mark, who's the guy in college football now that Nick Saban's retired?
Wow.
Yeah. I'll hang up and listen. Seriously, I'll give you the rest of the hour. There's not a guy. There is not a guy. Something happens in college football. You're running a news organization. Who do you pick up the phone and call?
That's a really great question.
I mean, is Kirby now going to get it by default?
Kirby's now going to get it. You're totally right.
And he's obviously Kirby's done a terrific job in 8 years at Georgia. We all know the deal. 3 finals, 2 wins, great job. But I mean, there was no one in Nick's area code in terms of stature. Forget resume, just stature. I think it's a huge loss for college football. Trust me, CBS is laughing hysterically that ESPN gets the SEC now and they get them from day one without Nick. Try it. CBS will never say it publicly. They're laughing hysterically this morning.
Right until they air that Iowa-Minnesota game.
Right. Yep. Until we're live in Illinois. Right. But during the offseason, it's hysterical. And the other people who are laughing right now, too, are Texas and Oklahoma going, wait a minute, we get to join the SEC after he leaves? Ha, ha, ha. But I think it's a huge loss. I think it's much bigger than when Coach K retired in terms of his impact on college basketball. I really do.
Easily.
And maybe it's because college football is so much more popular than college basketball, because Coach K was obviously the guy that you went to his last few years. Whenever there was something going on, you had to find out what Coach K thought.
It's definitely bigger simply because the sport's that much bigger, because college basketball has been on the descent for 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, Coach K also had that whole, it was really, I don't want to call it a generation, but there was a whole group, like Roy Williams was part of that group. Bill Self was like sort of in there and he's still coaching. Izzo, even a guy like Mark Few gets a lot of traction at Gonzaga and he hasn't won anything. So it's just different, to Mark's point.
But what, Coach K won 5 titles, Nick won 7, 6 at Bama.
Yes.
But I mean, if we're going by titles now, what, Kirby and Dabo each with 2?
Right, and what do we think about Clemson right now? I mean,
Dabo won't participate in the transfer portal, so it's tough to. I mean, you can get a great soundbite from Dabo, but to make Dabo the commissioner of the sport right now, I mean, he tries to pretend that the transfer portal doesn't exist.
Well, if you made him the commissioner of the sport, he'd end the transfer portal.
Right.
Tell you who they should.
He's so antiquated with how the sport is being played right now. He's ineligible, David, to be thought of as the commissioner. He truly is.
We should talk to Chip Kelly. Remember his little plan that he laid out a couple weeks ago?
Absolutely. But I just think that this is not just a historic figure, but right now, I mean, Nick was the center of the college football world from a figure stature standpoint.
And because he embraced media in the last decade the way that he did, he was always on. I mean, Nick Saban was going on the McAfee show weekly. Think about that for a second.
Right.
He was in Aflac commercials with Deion Sanders.
Right.
Exactly. Right. Nick was cool. Nobody looked at Nick Saban and went, man, he's old. Even though he was. But Nick's not old. Nick's cool. I'd play for Nick. I'd want my kid to play for Nick. He's 72 years old. I don't care. I want my grandkids to play for Nick. I mean, everybody, except at Auburn, everybody loved Nick. Now they wanted to beat him, but.
And how much of that goes away? Does Alabama stay Alabama?
Well, come on. Nobody's coming in and keeping them at this level. I mean, I don't want to bore you here. All right. But I'll just go recently. I forget the first half of his tenure. All right. Alabama won the 2018, 20, 21, and 23 SEC championships. That's 4 out of 6.
No, David, I'm not even saying to keep up at that. But Florida was at a level.
Right.
At the highest level.
Twice.
They're canyons away from getting back to that level. What happens to Alabama now going forward?
Well,
especially in this day and age, you can't dominate a conference like you used to because it's going to be bigger, stronger.
Put it this way. We're at a 12-team playoff. In the next 10 years, how many times is Alabama in the 12-team playoff?
Ooh, in 10 years, 12-team playoff?
Right.
Over under 7.5.
I'd take the over.
Over under 8.5.
My number's 8, so I'd go under.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Next 10 years, how many times is Alabama in the playoff?
Because I look at the playoff the next 10 years. If you just say how many times Ohio State's going to make it, I'm going to go 9.
Right. There's one freak year where someone gets hurt.
And I might go 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
But obviously, you're saying the SEC will be tougher, even though we have done the math. You got to figure 4 teams each year from the Big Ten and the SEC minimum.
Correct.
One, could be 5 in one of those conferences every year. But we're going right now in our heads. We're thinking 4 teams every year from the SEC and the Big Ten.
I think that's a safe bet.
Well, let's just do the math.
Right.
Well, it's for sure. 4.5's the over-under on the SEC. Every year.
In the Big Ten, it's probably 3.5 or 4.5.
Well, just do the math. They're going to go with the top 5 conferences, get their champion in. So take the SEC and the Big Ten and push it aside. Big 12, ACC, and then whoever.
Whoever, right.
Okay, so that leaves 9 spots. Well, the Big Ten and SEC get their champion, so that leaves 7. So of the 7 at-large bids, don't you think the Big Ten and the SEC are going to get 6 of them every year?
100%.
So there's 3 and 3. So you're at 4 and 4. And now it's just a matter of, can the Big 12 or the ACC get a second bid?
Yeah, is Big 12 2 better than SEC 5?
And Big 10 5. Like this year. I don't think the ACC would have gotten anybody except Florida State. North Carolina and Louisville both fell off at the end of the year. Clemson didn't have 10 wins. No way. Big 12? Besides Texas, would anybody have gone? I don't know about Oklahoma at the end of the year. Oklahoma would have been right on the bubble. Probably out. They were ranked like 15th. So there's a chance this year you would have gotten it would have come down to like Penn State or somebody from the SEC, the Ole Miss. One of those would have been the 5th for their conference. So that's a really good question. Next 10 years, how many times does Alabama make the playoff? Over, under 7.5. Oof. Boy, gotta figure they could finish top 4.
I'd lean over because just what's left at Alabama,
yeah,
I think they're in the next 3 years.
And it still is Alabama. Whoever comes in, this is all subject to change because they have to find a new coach here in the coming months. But it's still the Alabama Crimson Tide. They're going to be a top 12 team in the country, for crying out loud.
We had Jim Dunaway on an hour ago. He's co-host of The Next Round, which is a college football show year-round based out of Birmingham, 4 hours a day, middays. You can find it all over the place. It's outstanding. And he said, hey, I'm old enough to remember what happened to Alabama after Coach Bryant. And he said what happens after a figure like this is all the people who have been kept to the outside all want their say. They all want their hands in the cookie jar. And so whether it's Dan Lanning or whoever else, he said the key will be, can the AD run the interference so that the coach can do what the coach has to do?
Keep the boosters away, keep all the hangers-on away so the coach can coach. That's the question for Alabama going forward. Miller and Moulton. Quite a 24 hours we've just experienced.
Whew.
Belichick, Carroll, and Saban all gone.
Get set for the thrill of a lifetime with Mud Wheelers Gone Wild at Redneck Mud Park, January 19th through 21st. 3 full days of mud, trails, camping, and more. All for ATVs and side-by-sides only. Friday night is movie night. Ride up and relax. Compete for cash, prizes, and more. With events like our new ATV and side-by-side bounty obstacle challenge, side-by-side and barrel races, and scavenger hunt. Don't miss this family-friendly ATV and side-by-side only event at Redneck Mud Park, January 19th through 21st. Visit redneckmudpark.com for discount tickets and details.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
Mark Miller for Molly Maid. Why Molly Maid, you ask? Trust. Moulton was a customer for 15 years. Affordability. Didn't I just say Moulton was a customer for 15 years? Worry-free services. Our professional house cleaners are fully insured and a 24-hour warranty. Call Molly Maids today at 239-774-5839. That's 239-774-5839 or online at mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. That's mollymaid.com/FTMYERS. We're listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Oh, Danielson's doing Dan Patrick, huh?
He is?
That's what they just tweeted out 14 minutes ago.
Beast.
I did us first.
Then he went and golfed around in the
No. He's on the course.
He's on the course.
He's going to step aside, maybe take a hole off.
That is so impressive.
So when I first moved here, the Everblades, I moved here for the hockey team. They were a big deal down here. We were selling out every night. We fired our coach. And Brush, the owner, went into hiding. I have a college roommate in town. We're playing golf. Every news station, every TV station, all the
Absolutely.
papers are calling me.
Yeah.
I'm the director of marketing and PR and all that stuff. I told the guys in the golf course, I go, hey, there's something happening. I'm playing with two guys we didn't know. I said, there's something happening today. I'm going to apologize now because if it does happen, I may end up being on my phone a lot the back nine. So I'm just telling you right now, watch the news at 6. You'll find out why. I apologize. So I'm 8 beers deep, easy.
Oh,
this is college roommate. I'm hammered.
That's awesome.
Brush disappears. Won't do any interviews. I think did you interview me in front of the building?
Of course I did.
So Moulton calls me. He's like, can you meet me at the arena?
This is so good.
I got Eric Zarrenner going, all right, you got to work this in. See, and all he is doing is giving me phrases that he wants me to say. I think, give me a God willing. Give me something.
Yeah.
And I did the interview in front of the box office. Snapped.
Oh, God. Oh, that's hilarious. So Canada Relief in the Twitch chat room asked if it's wrong to wear a Stafford jersey to the game.
They've taken to social media, I believe, to urge people not to wear their Stafford jerseys.
Well, here's the thing. Don't let social media fool you. The people that are paying $600 to be in a nosebleed are not throwing roses at Matt Stafford. You might see a lot of this love letter stuff and all that on social media. That's the fan base. That's going to happen. The people in he's going to get booed like crazy. And it doesn't matter. It's not that, it's not out of hate. It doesn't matter who's coming in. It's the first playoff game ever in that building. They're going to boo whoever runs out of that tunnel. There's not going to be a little standing ovation. They might put a little thank you, Matthew, up on the
if they put a
board.
Thank you, Matthew, on the scoreboard, then they're nuts.
And if they do that, they do it pregame. They're not going to do it during the game.
I wouldn't do it, period.
No, I wouldn't either. I'm just letting you know, like, these people that think it's going to be, oh, we're so torn. We don't know how. We love you, Matt. No, it's going to be
I'd
chaos.
have Detroit versus everybody is the only thing on that graphic for the whole pregame. That would tick me off.
Well, I'll be reporting live. I'll let you guys know. Yes, it's a valid question. I just wanted to weigh in on that.
Michigan go blue. Jimbo, if Jimbo's willing to take a group of 5 job, if he's willing to take a job one step below where you're asking, I think Jimbo can work his way back.
Like in the Mountain West?
I think even a low-level job in a big conference.
Maybe even in the
Mississippi
ACC.
State.
I will say, though, Jimbo's going to have to fight he seemed out of touch, with his methods, play calling and otherwise. That's why I think Jimbo has to come back somewhere and do it differently. There's a guy who covers the Commanders that says Belichick's not on their list.
Really?
Yep. So we'll see.
Philly. Here we go. Actually, not quite yet. Sorry. Still got like 10 seconds.
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton. The Diamond District bonus hour. Absolutely nothing going on in the sports world, especially football. So the Pete Carroll news was first, right? Pete Carroll, that news broke around 2 Eastern yesterday is when that news broke. Then Nick Saban's news broke around 5 Eastern yesterday. Chris Lowe, the first to have it nationally at ESPN.
Yeah, you texted me because I was playing golf yesterday. You texted me around 3:00 with Pete Carroll.
Yeah, I was actually doing an interview with a buddy of mine when on the air, and he said, by the way, Pete Carroll's out in Seattle. And I was like, whoa. He's like, are you being real? I'm like, yeah, I'm jaw on the ground shocked.
David, I was doing one when Saban, when that came across on the air. And I was so distracted, I had to ask what the question was again. I was like, sorry, I just saw that Nick Saban, the greatest coach ever, retired. What was your question?
And then the news broke right around 7 a.m. today. First person I saw with it was Schefter. My guess is he wasn't first. But that the Patriots and Belichick are divorcing, and Kraft and Bill will have a joint presser at noon. So there you go. 8 head coaching vacancies in the NFL right now, and a really big one at Alabama in college.
Between the 3, 904 wins, 9 national titles, and 7 Super Bowls. I'll say that again. between Belichick, Saban, and Pete Carroll, 904 wins, 9 national titles, 7 Super Bowls.
Greatness.
Nick is retired. Pete Carroll said, "I'm not retired" yesterday. And all indications are that Bill is not retiring. Just him and Bob are breaking up.
So that number could get even bigger. It will get even bigger.
You're a press conference guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not.
Right.
They can just run a little long for me, and I don't need to hear the media ask all these questions. I can't wait to watch this thing at noon today. I'm incredibly intrigued by the divorcees standing up at a podium together and how Belichick's going to answer any questions.
What's he going to wear?
Suit.
Okay.
Really?
I mean, I don't know. I have no feeling.
He doesn't have any clothes that don't have a Patriot logo on them.
Come on. I've seen him on a fishing boat with Jimmy Johnson. He's got a collared shirt without a Patriots logo on it. But then again, we don't know if he's done laundry recently, so he may have to wear a suit. There's a report out, by the way, somebody who covers the Commanders that says Washington's not interested in Belichick. All right. I got no problems being wrong. Listen, I'm going to say this. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm going to say this. The Maras have always wanted Bill Belichick to coach the Giants. They tried twice in recent years behind the scenes talking to Bob Kraft, going, yeah, and Bob's like, no, it's not happening. The Giants would have been willing to do a deal to get Belichick twice in the last 5 years. And Kraft wouldn't make him available. Now, do I think they'd blow out Dable? Probably not. Timing.
Yep.
Timing. But I'm just saying, the owner of the Eagles and the owners of the Giants have wanted Bill Belichick for a while. And that Giants love goes back 35 years. And by the way, I don't know if there's a franchise that Bill has more affection for besides New England than the Giants.
Very true.
I mean, Belichick damn near shed a tear when they demolished Old Giants Stadium. Walking through it for the last time with Parcells.
Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, is 81. Don't you think he wants some success there before it's all said and done? Don't you think he'd be willing to give up a lot to get that success?
Well, now that they've agreed to part ways, are you going to have to give Mr. Kraft anything for Bill?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
They hire Belichick. They sign Kirk Cousins. They win 11 games next year.
Yeah, they might win more than that.
Yeah.
It would be interesting, though, when Bill's sitting meeting with people. I mean, you have legitimate questions. So personnel-wise, no offense. I really don't want you all that close to the draft. And by the way, are you bringing Josh McDaniels back as OC? I mean, have to admit, I don't think quite as highly of him now as I used to. I mean, who's your staff?
As long as Matt Patricia isn't on it, I'm okay.
Right. I am entitled to ask these questions. I'm going to give you about $12 million a year. So just, think about it. Get back to me. Bill's lived. I mean, think about it, though. Bill, grew up. His dad was at Navy. Obviously, his coaching going back to the mid-'70s, the Lions. We all know head coach in Cleveland first. All that time with the Giants, the Jets, and the Patriots. I mean, Bill's whole life is in the, Ohio Valley, northeastern part of the country. I'd be shocked if at this stage of his life, never mind career, if Bill takes a job outside of the region that he has spent his whole life in.
Yeah, and I don't see him going west, but I don't see why Atlanta would be this big pull or big reach.
And you may be onto something. Never mind if a job becomes available in the state of Florida. Yeah, okay.
Funny, the one place I don't see him ever coming is Tampa.
Because Tom Brady won a Super Bowl there?
Bingo.
Yep.
That's there's 30 franchises. He's not going back to New England. There are 30 franchises that I'd say, well, okay. If you told me Belichick was coming, okay.
That's juicy.
Tampa just.
Boy, the funny thing is he hates the Jets. But if you're the Jets, I mean, don't you have to, for 3 minutes today, go, are we really married to Robert Saleh? I mean, he was the coach here before, granted for a day. I mean,
Jet fan, if you're out there, 21,000 is the text line. Would you want Bill Belichick?
With Aaron Rodgers?
Would you want Bill Belichick? You hate him.
And he hates you. But he wants to break Shula's record. He needs to coach somewhere. And he's going to get Aaron Rodgers for 2 years. He might be able to get all those wins in 2 years.
But just say it out loud. If the Jets did Belichick, and David, still a great coach, of course. I'm just saying. He's old. And then you throw in Rodgers at 40 coming off an Achilles, I would be beside myself a little bit as a Jets fan.
That would stun me. That would probably be, no New England, no Tampa. The Jets would be right there on my list of places I don't see Bill Belichick ever coaching.
Yeah, but you got to remember, most Jets fans would take Miller or Moulton over Robert Saleh right now. I mean, they are so done with this guy. The GM and the coach both. So they would look at Belichick as like, I know he's Satan, but we can get rid of both these guys. And he can't screw it up with Aaron Rodgers.
Had an Eagles fan text the show going, I don't want Belichick.
Is it possible Bill Belichick can't get a job?
No.
Are we sure?
Yes.
You sound like me.
I mean, I think it's ridiculous if there's 7 openings for Bill and he doesn't get one of them. But, I mean, then again, Pete Carroll got shoved to the curb. Mike Vrabel got fired. These owners are idiots.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Hey y'all, it's Ben Allen. When it comes to singing and performing live shows, I'm in my comfort zone. When it comes to wanting to surprise my wife with diamonds, I'm a bit lost. That's why I go see my friends Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. Jason and Todd helped me blow my wife away when we got engaged, and I've been applauding them ever since. If you're in the market for diamonds this holiday season, Southwest Florida has been giving Jason and Todd a standing ovation for over 20 years. Go see them and let Jason and Todd know that Ben Allen sent you.
Thanks, Ben. We're proud of you and your accomplishments and thrilled that you are part of our Diamond District family.
This holiday season, visit Jason and me at the Diamond District. We look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Peter Burns of ESPN. A pretty funny tweet. Hey, hear me out. A Saban Belichick weekly podcast. Two old heads who don't give a damn what anyone thinks, breaking down college and pro football.
Do you know how many people would listen to that? That would become the
I don't know how much money you can make on a weekly podcast, but however much it is, that's how much they'd make.
Sonny, there is no way Nick Saban is ever putting a headset on. Not happening. Nick may be on game day, but he ain't putting a headset on or a headgear on. No way.
I think
headgear dies with Corso.
Yeah, and it should die with Corso. But if anything, Nick could make the picks and hand the headgear to McAfee, and he could put it on.
By the way, McAfee kicking Rodgers to the curb. Did you see that?
Yep.
They're done. They're
done for this year, which makes sense. What are we talking Aaron Rodgers for?
Well, he's bad press. I tried telling you guys this. You were like,
no. I meant the rest of the year. I mean, what's there to talk to Aaron Rodgers about? The Jets season's over. I mean, in theory, what if you're bringing him on? What is there to discuss with him?
What was there to discuss with him? Well, I guess coming back, but.
Well, plus, I mean, it was probably great for their ratings.
It was great for their content wheel because everybody was running clips of it.
Well, he was it's like a car accident. Like people just. Of course, there's a camp that loves Rodgers and they worship that and, whatever. But most of it, I think people just watched because it was chaotic.
Yeah.
I can't believe Gary's doing an interview from the golf course. Dan Patrick must be a pretty big show.
I will say he's very loyal to the people who have been loyal to him. Like he's done Dan Patrick for a long time. He's done Chris Russo first when it was Mike and the Mad Dog, and he's done Russo now for 15 years on Sirius XM. There are 3 or 4 shows that Gary will do if they call, pretty much, if he's not mad at you.
Do you guys like Mad Dog?
Well, that's my wheelhouse. I grew up in that part of the country. They helped make this medium work.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I interviewed with Mad Dog, for a job at Mad Dog Radio. So yes, I like Mad Dog.
I love him. I'm a huge fan.
Also, Mad Dog reached out when I had my kidney cancer episode, found out about it, called me the night before my surgery.
That is awesome.
That's a classy move, considering. And I said, Mad Dog, I have to admit, the last time you called me, you called to tell you weren't going to hire me. I said, I alluded to something along the lines of, I go, listen, if this goes well, could you change your mind?
I will also say, when we were at the Super Bowl the one year, Mike and the Mad Dog were right next to us, and Francesa couldn't have been a bigger jerk. I mean, just was self-absorbed. Russo made eye contact with us. Yep. He didn't know who we were. Yep. He never came over to do, but we were there every day. When you're next to someone for a week working, you see who's around you. And he always was like, hey guys, how you, always was, he was genuine. Mike Greenberg was the same way. Mike Greenberg, Golesh was very standoffish in the interviews we had.
Greeny was great.
Great.
Yep.
So we got Mike and the Mad Dog, Miller and Moulton.
Yeah.
A lot of Eminem alliteration.
Eminem show.
It's all about alliteration. So Trent, you have to find someone with a T or a B to go with your last name. T or B, baby. Start working on it.
You could do like Trent and Charlie, something like that. Trent and Chucky. I'm just saying, it's the alliteration. It sounds. Oh, all right, whatever. That was a miss. Here we go.
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The home stretch of the Diamond District bonus hour. Listen, it's not going to be as good tomorrow. All right. I mean, there's Nick Saban, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, all in one news cycle. We're not going to do better tomorrow, all right? Don't be disappointed. Normally, Football Friday, I mean, it'll be good.
Friday!
I know, it'll be good. Pat Kerr went on. He's really tight with Pete Carroll. He will have spoken to Pete. Hell, he might have even interviewed Pete yesterday or today. So we'll have Pat Kerr win tomorrow. We'll make our picks. Football Friday. It'll be good. But today was really good.
It really
Just
was.
saying. Yeah.
The Diamond District bonus hour, bringing it as well. Was in there yesterday, David. They were very thankful. So I want to thank our audience, our listeners who have supported us, and when they've gone to the places that support us, bringing up our name, because it's important to our sponsors to hear that you guys are spending money at the places that advertise on this show. So thank you very much for that, and thanks to the Diamond District for being part of the bonus hour.
Yeah, we would like to continue to do this. I mean, Trent's making $7 a show. Miller and Moulton are making about 14. I mean, we'd like to continue to do this though for the rest of 2024. Let's see, that's about $35 a show, $175 a week, $700 a month. Yeah, it's about right. That covers it.
Seems about right.
Yeah, we were doing that at the last place. They said it was too much money. They fired us. All right, Mark, take it away.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Am I doing the show with Ricky Gervais there?
I was going to say that was Ricky Gervais at the Golden Globes. It's my last time. I don't care. Don't care.
All right, I don't have a lot today because there was so much going on that I probably missed a bunch. But today, in 1569,
damn,
the first national state lottery took place in England. The first prize was £5,000. That's a lot of jing in 1569.
It really does seem like it, yes.
It really does. 1861, Alabama succeeds from the Union. Or secedes. It wasn't because Saban retired.
I was going to say, if he could have just waited one more day, then in Alabama schools, they could decide which was bigger, seceding from the Union or Saban retiring.
Saban, close.
I was going to say, poll question, 54-46.
1922, the first insulin injections were given. 1967, San Diego was granted an NBA franchise. It was called the Rockets. They moved to Houston for the 71-72 season.
And then we gave San Diego a try again with the Clippers.
Right. A lot of failed basketball franchises in that city.
When Bill Walton left the Blazers, he signed with the San Diego Clippers.
Today in 1970, Super Bowl IV. The Chiefs beat the Vikings 23-7. Len Dawson, your MVP.
It's a Super Bowl that got lost because the year before the Jets were 18.5-point underdogs, but the Chiefs were 14.5-point dogs to the Vikings when they won. And it's the big Super Bowl upset that no one ever talked about.
Today in 1973, the American League adopted the designated hitter.
You look back on it now when you find out all the facts, and it's unreal. Because you did the story, what was it, a week or so ago, when the National League back in 1928 tried to have the National League have the DH, and the American League owners voted it down. By the way, the guy who drove the train, the bus, whatever, for the DH, Charlie Finley. He was the one, even though he was winning 3 straight World Series, he was the one that said, come on, pitchers, it's boring. We need to draw more fans.
Today in 1992, Nirvana's Nevermind hit #1 on the charts. Back when there was this thing called rock and roll.
Right.
1995, the Birmingham Barracudas granted a CFL franchise.
The Barracudas?
Canadian Football League, the 1-year existence of the Birmingham Canadian League team.
Didn't also Baltimore have a CFL team? They
There was
played
a
at
handful of them, right.
They played at Old Memorial Stadium before they tore it down.
And today in 1999, Jon Stewart takes over from Craig Kilborn on The Daily Show.
You know, that worked out okay for Jon Stewart.
It really did. Alexander Hamilton, Albert Hoffman, and Chris Ford all born today. Chris Ford, the basketball player. Albert Hoffman, you know, who the hell is that? He's the guy that invented LSD. So if you've ever tripped in your life, you can thank him for it. Ben Crenshaw, 72, and Mary J. Blige is 53. What did I miss, David?
And Crenshaw still can't hit a fairway, but still may have the best putting stroke in the world. So 60 years ago today, the Surgeon General made a big announcement. They announced a definitive link between smoking and cancer. Led to the whole labels, led to 15, 20 years later, well, longer than that, but, you know, eventually banning of tobacco advertising and all. It basically started today, 60 years ago, when most of America, I think, went, yeah, no kidding. But, so anyway.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
For the good, we go to Utah, where Dwan Jacobson Young of Fish Haven, Utah, has been dubbed the world's oldest female water skier, as she was water skiing with her grandchildren and great-grandchildren at the age of 92. That's got to be so incredibly hard just to get out of the water at that age and get up on the ski. That's impressive to me.
I struggled to do it in my 30s and 40s, so.
Be eating a lot of water. For the bad, we go to Ontario, where a man just passed his driver's license test, was driving home from said test and celebrated by driving 50 kilometers above the limit and cracking open a beer. He was pulled over and looks like he'll lose his license just as quickly as he earned it. Finally, the ugly, we go to Stuart, Florida, where Albert DeBarros was at a Subway, and he was not happy when he found out the sandwich was not separated.
Okay.
And he had a brief verbal exchange with the worker who served him his sandwich. The worker announced that she would no longer serve Mr. DeBarros his sandwich.
Good for her.
Mr. DeBarros then threw the sandwich at the Subway worker.
Okay, that's it, buddy. You got to go.
Cassandra Pierre Lewis took a sandwich to the midsection. DeBarros left the restaurant. She followed him outside, took a photo of his license plate. That led police to catch up with the suspect, where he was arrested for misdemeanor battery. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, January the 11th, 2024.
Took a sandwich to the midsection. That's a pretty good way to phrase it.
I would never throw food that I bought at another person.
Well, you know I'd never throw food. I mean,
no.
Would eat it.
Thank you. You know, I went over. My mom had me over for dinner last night, had the family over for dinner, and she made meatloaf. Do you know how hard it is when your mom makes meatloaf to not yell, "Ma, more meatloaf," at the table throughout the meal?
Channel your inner the late John Clayton.
Hey, Ma!
Ma!
It's a great commercial.
It was. College hoops tonight. First off, FAU, national television. They're still ranked. They're 24th. They're on ESPN2 at 7 at Tulane. And they're 7.5-point favorite. Be careful on the road in conference play. 9 o'clock tonight for you two. Michigan State at Illinois on FS1, 9 o'clock.
I'll be curious in that one. Just, you know, Izzo went nuts on his players in a post-game presser. I'll be curious how they play tonight because Illinois is pretty good.
NBA, 5 games. There's one this afternoon. NBA's playing a game in Paris. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, our time. What's that, 7 or 8 over there? Brooklyn and Cleveland in Paris at 2 o'clock on NBA TV. TNT doubleheader tonight. Celtics Bucs at 7:30. That's not bad.
No. Celtics coming off a big game last night. Be curious how much they have tonight.
Phoenix and the Lakers at 10 o'clock on TNT. Hockey, 13 games. Wow, that's most of the league. Both the Lightning and Panthers in action. Tampa at home for Seth's Devils. Panthers at home for the LA Kings. Vancouver continues to run roughshod throughout the Eastern Conference. We'll see if tonight they can continue it in Pittsburgh against the Penguins. Your guys' Wings are hosting Connor McDavid and the Oilers.
That Devils Lightning game should be a pretty good game.
Yeah.
That's a fun game right there. It's a very fast skating Devils team, and Tampa's been playing a little bit better lately. I'm excited to watch that one.
Yeah, one team has a goalie and the other doesn't. So it'll be very entertaining. The team without the goalie is faster than the team with the goalie. Give me.
We're going to keep harping on this until the Devils get a goalie. We know none of you care.
No, none of you care.
They're good. They're really good. And if they had a goalie, they could win the Stanley Cup.
You guys mentioned it at least once a show. They need a goalie.
They do. Don't know what to tell you. It's like a football team that doesn't have a quarterback. I mean, yeah, we're harping on this. Yeah.
They're the New York Jets of the NHL this year.
Kind of a big deal. So there you have it. What's going on tonight? But listen, the big event's at noon. It's Kraft and Belichick at a joint presser.
It's going to be like a presidential debate. They're going to be standing at separate podiums.
But they're not. They should.
Yeah.
No, your point is valid, Trent. They should be at separate podiums, and it should be debate style, but it's going to be one podium, and it's going to be kumbaya in some way, shape, or form, and I'm fascinated by it.
You would have to think that this would take a long time. So Bill's going to be very uncomfortable.
Right.
Never mind the subject
Bill
matter.
doesn't want to do this.
Do you think there's any chance they do Bill first and then they dismiss him? And then
No, you got to think Robert Kraft speaks first and just talks about, everything the Bills meant and all that. And then eventually Bill comes in. I really enjoyed my time here. We accomplished a lot. Always had fond memories.
Now it's on to Cincinnati.
Now it's on to Atlanta.
Someone asked in the Twitch chat room, does Bill cry out of boredom? This makes no sense to me. Come on. They're firing. They're mutually parting ways. They fired him. It's just a nice way to say it.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
When you get fired, you don't want to do a presser. You and I have been, we can understand this.
Yeah, but here's the deal. Mr. Kraft says, listen, I'll pay you the $30 million. Might even be more than that. You gotta do the presser with me.
I wonder if any reporter has the guts to ask if Bill had given up the GM responsibilities, if they would have kept him.
Yeah. No, don't get into all of that. I mean, I'll be curious. I don't know if Mr. Kraft will get that specific at this occasion, but he will get that specific later on.
I want Bill to rip his hoodie in half, throw the people's elbow at Kraft, and walk out of the room.
I'm just curious, do you think we'll get one moment from Bill in which we actually go, wow, that's Bill Belichick, not Coach Belichick?
No.
No.
Because he's still Coach Belichick.
He's going to go coach elsewhere. That's where his focus is. At his
I know, but to end it here, if you know what I mean, can he just give us one moment where he's Bill, and then he can go, leave the room and be Coach Belichick again? That's all.
I bet against it. Do you think he will?
I
You want him to, but do you think he will?
I think there will be one quote from Bill that we've never gotten before. Yes, I do.
If you missed any of the show today, Gary Danielson, Jim Dunaway, Roy Cummings, go to Florida Sports Network or anywhere you download your podcast and download it. We'll do a Football Friday tomorrow morning.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Jason and Todd with the Diamond District are excited